Hello, friends and neighbors. Welcome in once again. It is 12:04, and may I be the first to say a good afternoon on this Friday, January 5, 2024. My name is Matt Murphy, and this is the Matt Murphy Show on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. It is episode 485 of our proceedings here today. Well, yes, you get it. 485 times we've had an opportunity to crack the microphone on Supertalk 99.7 WTN and say hello to you and fare thee well. And I hope you're doing great on this Friday edition. We've lots to get into, lots to do. I hope you're able to spend the entire time with us. If not, whatever time you're able to spend with us, we thank you for it because I know how valuable your time is. Please carry us wherever you go. We like to remind you that it's not just on your radio at 99.7 FM. You can also take us anywhere you stream information or music or news. You can take Supertalk with you. Just download Supertalk's app. Go to the app store of your choosing and type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN, or on any internet streaming service, we're available for you as well. Just type in the said same, and you'll get to us. Lots to get into on this Friday edition, to include Fry J. Jay St. Clair will join us at 1:05 this afternoon. I will ask Jay St. Clair whether or not it is permissible for an elected official to use their official social media account to block people. In other words, if there is an official social media account for an elected official, and there are, is it permissible for those Tennessee officials to block individuals attempting to engage them? It is my understanding that that is not the case, but we will find out from Jay St. Clair what his analysis is of this situation. I believe it's before the United States Supreme Court. Does social media and your social media account amount to an elected official's office hours or a telephone number for an elected official? Now, obviously, you cannot intimidate or harass or threaten anyone on social media without certain repercussions, and I think it's permissible for elected officials to mute individuals. Why do I bring all of this up? Because Justin Jones, Brother Jones, is blocking people left and right on social media because he can't handle disagreement. Oh, Brother Jones has trouble with disagreement. He also has trouble with telling the police the truth when he witnesses sexual assault outside of the Tennessee Capitol in the summer of 2020. But be that as it may, another story for another time. We'll discuss in the 1 o'clock hour with Jay St. Clair, our legal correspondent and life consultant on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. We were anticipating having I'm sorry?
Gambling partner. Let's keep it honest.
Life consultant, and thank you very much. Life consultant and whatever I was also saying, which is now out of my head because Bell interrupted me. Hey, Bell, how you doing?
Well, don't lie to him, and I won't have to.
I'm not lying to him. He is my good friend. He's my legal consultant, and
he
is my legal. He's my lawyer. He's my life consultant.
That is code for gambling buddy.
No, it's not. That's not true.
It's 100% true.
He's also my gambling buddy.
But you didn't throw that in there to begin with, did you?
Well, I mean, I can.
That should come first before the other things.
I can if you want me to. Bell K's behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speaker sounds as good as humanly possible. It's my understanding that your room got fixed right before we came on the radio, which is nice.
Yes, it is very nice. I can now hear what I need to hear.
Did you hear that this morning?
No, I did not.
It was awesome. Just listening to it was awesome. Now, I'm not talking about listening to what Johnny B was listening to. I'm talking about listening to the reaction in the studio as to what was going on in the control area.
Was it a train wreck?
Well, it sounded like a train wreck. I mean, it sounded like somebody was about to explode. I mean, it was not good. It was that kind of stuff, repeatedly.
Good times.
Yeah, sure. I mean, everything works great until it doesn't.
Exactly.
This radio station, this studio, that control room, just like Nashville traffic. Everything's fine until it's not. And when it's not, you are screwed. You are screwed. 615-737-9986. In addition to all of those other things, it's also First Amendment Freestyle Friday. Hey, Chris Hand left his bottle. Do you think that's pure vodka? You think that is?
I don't know about pure. It might have some tonic water in there.
Should I try it again? Should I try it?
No, don't.
Not again.
Don't drink the man's beverage.
He left it. Why not? In addition to Jay, in addition to other matters that we will discuss, it's First Amendment Freestyle Friday. You are invited to. Hand just came around the corner and said, "Don't drink it. Whatever you do, it will open up a new window of problems."
What, has he got it spiked with LSD or something?
I don't know. I don't know. He told me not to drink it. I'm not going to drink it. I trust the man. It's First Amendment Freestyle Friday. That gives you an opportunity to speak truth to power. We really take all comers Monday through Thursday, but I love talking with you on Friday about any subject matter of your choosing. As a matter of fact, I make this commitment to you. You call me on a Friday, and here's the deal. Not only will I take your call, I will act interested in what you have to say, whether I am or not. You'll never know. 615-737-9986. You can also super text the program at the same telephone number. We are up and running on Super Talk TV as well. Super Talk TV is running on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and one other. YouTube. That's right. Any of those platforms, you can get to us at episode 485. Bell K refuses to participate in the television side of things. It's why we call him Headless Bell. But he does title the episodes. And today's episode 485 is entitled
Broadcasting live on Epstein's Island from the Bill Clinton Bungalow. Don't Hillary us. Libertarian lunch, noon to 3, French fries.
Did you see the video? Jesse Waters did this last night on Fox News. There's a video of a guy several years ago before the island was sold. Apparently, it's been sold and it's been raised in some way, eliminating a lot of the bungalows and whatnot that were used for god-awful, evil acts against young people. But this guy rented a buddy of his, and he was an inspiring or an aspiring journalist, and he rented a couple of jet skis, and they went out to this island in the Virgin Islands that was owned by Epstein. And he went on the island, and security chased him around. Like, literally, he was being chased on the island and had to jump in the water and swim to his friend's jet ski that took him away from the island. It was pretty fascinating to see the level of security that was there even then. The FBI raided that island. And circling back to my main concern yesterday, I'm not concerned about some of the names on some of these lists, especially those who are dead. Less concerned about Stephen Hawking, and I understand that there's rubbernecking that's going on there. Less concerned about Michael Jackson. I believe we know what's going on there. What I'm concerned about are the people that are alive that have been credibly accused of engaging in pedophilic activity along with Jeffrey Epstein. Individuals who perhaps were blackmailed by Jeffrey Epstein. He had video surveillance in his apartment in New York, had 2 separate cameras. We know of that. We assume the same was going on, and there are eyewitness reports that the same was going on Epstein Island, which would indicate that there is video surveillance in the hands of the FBI. The FBI raided that joint. Why is the FBI not answering more questions about this? And why are more politicians not demanding answers? Our own Marsha Blackburn, Senator Marsha Blackburn's demanding answers, and that's good. Demanding that this full list or whatnot be released. It's not really a list. It's a series of depositions that bring up names which had previously been Jane Doe or John Doe's, and now we know who these people are. We know that Bill Clinton, for example, I believe is John Doe number 36, et cetera, et cetera. I want to know who did what when and when the prosecutions begin. I want to know what the FBI knows. I want to know how long they've known it. I want to know why we have not found out more about it. I want to know what they're doing with this information. They've had said information for 5 years now. It's 2024. They have presumably had this information for the better part of 5 years. Why is more not being done about this? I want to know. Do you? 615-737-9986. Now, before we get too far into it, and before I forget to do it, and I'm prone to forget to do things, I'm scatterbrained as they come. That's what we used to call ADHD. Boy, oh boy, that guy's scatterbrained, isn't he? He's a scullamush. Now they call it, they diagnose it, and you take a pill. I don't take pills. Cameron Sexton, we have been running our daily promoting the fact that Cameron Sexton, the Speaker of the House, was going to be on the show today. Cameron called me last night. He had an unfortunate scheduling conflict that he could not get out of. I will not relate to you what that was, although he did relate it to me, and it's pretty funny. Maybe one of these days he will relate it to all of us, perhaps as early as Monday, as he will be with us Monday. So he will he rescheduled, called me last night, apologized profusely. He's rescheduling from today to Monday. So we were anticipating the Speaker of the House to be on today to talk about what we can expect out of the General Assembly session set to begin next week on the 9th, as a matter of fact, Tuesday. I will specifically ask Cameron not only about some of the legislation that is expected to be before him, but I will ask him specifically about what protocols he plans on putting in place to prevent, it's a lot of P's there, protocols in place to prevent the type of nonsense rigmarole that was going on during the special session and at the end of the General Assembly last year. It seems like a lot longer, does it not? It seems like a lot longer than a year. We're approaching a year since the Covenant School shooting. I mean, I know it's still a couple of months. We're what, 10 months in now? It was toward the end of the regular session that this happened, and sadly, the regular session devolved into chaos as a result of it because Democrats can't manage themselves. They can't manage their emotions, sadly, especially when they're in the minority. They have every expectation that you will manage your emotions if they're in the majority, and they will put their thumb on you and use that majority to their own advantage. But when they're in the minority, boy, they don't believe in democracy so much anymore. So we'll discuss that with Cameron coming up Monday, just after we start the show, about 12:10 or so. He's going to stop by then. I mentioned the raid of Epstein Island. The FBI raided Jeffrey Epstein's island in 2019. We are told through various media reports that the FBI confiscated a large trove of material, on that island, to include videotape or digital tape surveillance evidence, to include, we are told, evidence of human trafficking and child rape. If the FBI has this information, they owe the public that pays their salaries an explanation as to what, if anything, they're doing with it. And if they're not doing anything with it, then they owe us an explanation as to why. The American public pays the salary of the FBI, and far too often, the deep state, and the FBI is the worst offender within the deep state. They operate under the cloak of secrecy and suggest to you that they are not allowed to offer any of this information because why? Well, that's classified and all this nonsense. Well, that's an ongoing investigation. It's a lot of hooey, as my grandma used to say. My grandma.
For gosh sake, watch your language.
That's a lot of hooey. Lot of hooey. The evidence collected was designed to blackmail the rich and powerful elitists that made appearances on Epstein Island. And now one wonders where the hell it is. Where is it? The evidence is either there and they're doing nothing with it. It is there and they're doing something with it, or it is not there. Am I missing any of the options here? The evidence is either in the possession of the FBI and they are doing something with it. They owe us an explanation as to what that is and where they are in that process. They're doing nothing with it. They owe us an explanation as to why that is. Or they don't have the evidence any longer. They had the evidence. They collected the evidence. We know that. Where is it? What are they doing with it? The FBI not only needs to be defunded, it needs to be disbanded. And typically when you say this, media elitists and political elitists, their hair catches on fire. We have to have the FBI around. No one is suggesting that we do not need to have a national agency like the FBI, but the FBI sadly has become such a corrupted and embedded organization within the deep state that they have lost their basic charter. They think they are extracurricular to the Constitution of the United States. Sadly, they believe that. If not, then why are they spying on American citizens and using the FISA courts as a pick maneuver in order to do so? You dang right they are. Repeatedly, they do this. And they hide in secrecy and shadows. They don't tell you what really is going on. The American people deserve the truth. The FBI is an organization that treats, much like all of Washington, D.C., the rest of the United States of America like children. And I, for one, am sick of being treated like a child by my elected officials. And it's high time we do something about it in 2024, and I think we will. It's 1220 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You're invited to join in on the conversation at 615-737-9986. Speaking of presidential elections, Vivek Ramaswamy making a lot of news based on a couple of responses that he's given to media reporters regarding white supremacy. This is how you handle these matters. We were talking to Hand about it a little earlier. Vivek Ramaswamy is offering a master class on how you flip the script and do not engage in the ridiculous media narrative that they are attempting to present and use as a bludgeon against conservatives, libertarians, and Republicans alike. It's 1220, just getting underway on Libertarian Lunch, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I failed to mention you can also communicate on the television side of things. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, you can communicate on the F&M Bank chat line. 99.7 WTN. I failed to mention you can. You know what happened there? I pulled up the TV side of things over on my computer, and then I started talking to myself there. Listen how good I sound. WTN. I failed to mention you can. You know what happened there? I see what it say there. Yeah. Look, it's an endless loop now. It's like one of those.
I'm just glad it wasn't my mistake.
No, you're all good. Anyway, you can watch on television and you can communicate on the F&M Bank chat line. You're invited to do that. Also, 615-737-9986. The FBI are using the evidence. They're the ones blackmailing now, possibly. I don't know. I don't put anything past the FBI. That, according to 6130. 9268 says, on the border situation, the executive branch and the legislative branch blame each other. Please explain the checks and balances system, because it seems to me the Senate has no power to check the executive or judicial branch. No, it's up to the judicial branch to offer the check to make sure that the executive branch is doing their job. You're right. Here's the trap. There's not a lot that Congress can do. I was speaking with several Congress people about this over the last 24 hours, and I'll explain what I mean. If the President of the United States ignores immigration policy, the appropriate action on the part of the American people is to vote that president out of office, which I expect will happen November of 2024 unless they try to steal something. Congress certainly has the opportunity to act. They can pass laws pressing the president of the United States to do his job in a better fashion, but they do not have the authority nor the ability to force him to do his job in any particular way. The executive branch of government has the ability and the authority to execute the laws in a manner of their own choosing. So what happens is when someone like Joe Biden doesn't want to follow the law, when called on it in court, which is your third branch of government, they shrug their shoulders like the old meme, huh? And they say they're trying. That's what they do. So there are two remedies to that situation. Now, you can take them to court, and a court system can force them to do better, which has happened in the past. I mean, during the Obama administration, Obama was successfully argued in a, I want to say this case was out of Brownsville, Texas, that the Obama administration was flaunting and ignoring immigration law to the detriment of Texas. They made the argument that it was costing them money because they were being forced to pay for driver's licenses for illegal aliens. I think that's what it was, if my memory serves me correctly. And they won that case. And that's what pushed the DACA situation down the road. Obama lost that situation. You can do it that way. It is a difficult way to do it. When the better remedy, in my opinion, is this. You either elect a new president or you impeach the current president if he is found to be guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors and ignoring the Constitution of the United States and his sworn oath of office. Well, 7987 writes in, as I say that, said, then why take the oath of office? It's a legit question. Joe Biden took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America and all the laws that fall underneath it. What he would tell you, what they would lie about, they would tell you, well, we're trying our best. That's the big lie. We're doing our best, but the Republicans won't let us because they won't pass new immigration policy. Now, you and I know that that is Bravo Sierra. They're not doing their best, except to say that they are intentionally trying to bring as many illegal aliens against the laws of this country and the Constitution of the United States as best they can into this country in an illegal fashion for their own political benefit. They're not doing their best, but that's what they will argue. Obama argued it, and Biden would too. Would he appear in court, or one of his minions, Alejandro Mayorkas or whomever, they would make the case that they're doing the best that they can with the resources that they have. And it's not true, and we all know it's not true, but it's difficult to prove motive or intent in a court of law beyond a reasonable doubt. Plus, there are other factors. You have to have actual harm. You have to have standing in a court system, and those are always difficult premises to those are difficult hurdles to get over. The Congress of the United States, primarily Republicans in the Congress, are suggesting that they pass a law in the House of Representatives that authorizes the governors of the border states to have more authority to do more on the southern border. Because if you cannot force the executive branch to act in a certain way, you can authorize the governors of these border states, California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas primarily. You can give the governors of these border states more broad authority to do something about their southern border, our southern border. But here's the problem. You don't have the Senate, and you would not have the signature of Joe Biden if you passed it in the House. So the House of Representatives can pass this legislation giving more broad authority to the governor all they want, but Joe Biden's not going to sign it. And I was talking with someone last night about this, a congressman last night about this, and he said to me, yeah, but Trump would sign it. And I said, yeah, but if Trump was in office, you wouldn't need it because Trump would actually be protecting the southern border. You see the catch-22? Everything about our system of government hinges on the intelligence of the American people to vote the right way. Everything about it. Everything about our system of government depends on the American people having respect to the Constitution of the United States and having respect to the rule of law. If we see massive amounts of voters, and we already have over the last several election cycles, going to the polls and voting against not a particular candidate, but voting against the rule of law, I'm sad to tell you, folks, but America breaks. Everything hinges on a belief in a system and a rule of laws, or the rule of law. And when voters no longer care about the rule of law, we're done. We're done. 6890. So why don't we protect our own border of Tennessee just like Texas did? You cannot protect your border against another state. We cannot seal Tennessee off and prevent interstate travel. We're not permitted to do that as a state. We can take a heavier-handed approach as much as we can with regard to illegal alien activity in the state of Tennessee. But guess what the state of Tennessee has to do? When they apprehend illegal aliens, what by law do they have to do, Bel K? Do you know?
Turn them over to ICE.
Turn them over to ICE. What does ICE do with them?
Lets them go.
Bingo. Thank you. There's your problem.
If we could do any of that, we wouldn't have had these plane loads of people being flown into Chattanooga and Knoxville in the middle of the night.
Right. I mean, we can't. And I know that it's frustrating, and I know people get angry about it, and I do not blame you. There is one solution to this, and it is the ballot box. That is the best case scenario. If by hook or by crook or by cheating, Joe Biden continues to be president, then you take step 2, and that is the impeachment process for violating his oath of office and refusing to do his constitutional duty and to follow the rule of law. It's 12:31. I hope that answers your question. It's 12:31. We'll get to calls momentarily as we continue on a Friday edition of The Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, kids, it's Friday. Matt Murphy and you, along with Rebecca Black. As bad as the song is, it does signify a little something. The weekend is here, and I'm reminded when I hear the voice of Rebecca Black to thank all of you weekend warriors that make our weekends as wonderful as they are. I'm talking about the firefighters, the police officers, the EMTs, other first responder personnel, medical, physicians, doctors, nurses, and even restaurateurs, convenience store workers, all of you weekend warriors, thank you so much for helping us make the week. And, we talk a lot about the weekend. Woo, the weekend's here, but a lot of people work on the weekends, and I appreciate all of you guys, too. 615-737-9986 if you'd like to contact us on a First Amendment Freestyle Friday.
I don't understand why we even celebrate Friday. It's Friday Eve that matters.
Mm-hmm. You sounded mildly drunk when you said that. You sounded like Joe Biden.
Just mildly? Doing better than I thought.
I don't understand why. I don't understand why we celebrate Friday. It's Friday Eve. Today's Saturday Eve.
Serious, man. It's not a joke.
If you want to, no, it's not a joke. 1168 says that we need to play George Jones finally. Well, I mean, a lot of people have done George Jones. I like Rebecca Black because the song's so bad, but it signifies something so good. I enjoy that mental juxtaposition. 615-737-9986. Jerry's turn in the borough to talk about illegal aliens. What's up, Jerry?
No, I forget what I was going to talk about.
Hey, Jerry.
California. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Jerry, you're a little muddled, but I think we've got you. What's up?
All right. Take a speaker. If California is such a broke state, how can they afford to pay health care for the illegal aliens? And what does illegal mean? They're not supposed to be here, so why are we taking care of them?
Well, we take care of them because of
They're
Democrats.
not supposed to be here. Oh, well, I used to be a Democrat 20 years ago, but I won't nobody tell me nobody. I can't stand nothing they're doing anymore. They're ruining this country. Everything they do is destroying us. We'll never recoup unless Trump gets back in there and closes the borders.
You want to know how much California's in debt? You asked a question about how can they afford to pay for the health care. California, unlike many other states, they do not have to remain financially solvent. In other words, they can borrow money against their state economy and go in debt as a result. Their state debt in 2021, at the end of the fiscal year 2021, stood at $143.73 billion. By the end of fiscal year 2027, it's expected to increase to about $188.54 billion.
Well, they're borrowing that money from the government, aren't they? The federal government?
Well, they're borrowing the money against their own economy is what they're doing. In a sense, they're doing it. They're patterning what they do in California, much like the federal government does.
Right. But that's taxpayers funding their agenda, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, this is all coming from not Biden, but what was the other one they had in? Obama. I mean, he's pulling all the strings. This is what he wanted back when he was in office, and people can't see this. We've got to go another year with this if we have any luck getting them out now. I don't see that we can recover from all this. Do you? I mean, I hate to sound this way, but it worries me. I got grandkids.
You want to know where I think this is going, Jerry?
Yeah, I'd like to know.
I think in my lifetime, I'm 50. In my lifetime, I believe that there will be legitimate calls for some level of separation of the states.
Well, that's what the Civil War was over.
I understand that. And there are many that believe that because of the Civil War that makes the United States of America somewhat immune or impossible to split. I'm not making a value judgment on it. You asked a question and I'm giving you an answer.
Yeah.
I do not believe that you will ever see people coming together with some sort of resolve. I don't know what can bring this country back together. Maybe war against a foreign entanglement. Maybe war. I mean, God forbid. I don't wish this. I'm just thinking out loud. But what can bring us together. We came together for a moment after 9/11, just a moment after 9/11, and we had universal and uniform resolve. Now you have the same college campuses that celebrated our country and condemned the 9/11 attacks are celebrating terrorist attacks against Israel, right?
Right.
So
these smart people got all the answers up in these colleges that are brainwashing their young people. I mean, I'm just dumb. I mean, I'm almost 70 years old, worked hard all my life. It looks like I'm going to have to continue to work hard because of the inflation and all the stuff that's just putting everything high. And I don't remember what else I was going to say, but it's just nothing like what I grew up in. And,
and what I'm not wishing for it, but Jerry, I've thought a lot about this, and you know what? I've thought about. And thank you for the call. It's Friday. It's the beginning of a new year. It's the end of the first week of the new year. It's as good a time as any to bring this up because I've thought a lot about this. I do not know of a way to pull liberals out of their irrational, emotional fantasy. I do not know a way to reverse course away from the direction that they have set this country on, except to put my boots on every day, come to work every day, talk about things in a way that will appeal to others. You know, I took a lot of heat. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. We don't bring us any closer to national resolve by talking in an echo chamber. The other day, I brought up the issue of abortion. I agreed with Dobbs v. Jackson. I think you did too. I am happy that Roe v. Wade is on the trash heap of history. I think you are too. But when I brought it up the other day, I mentioned that we need to approach this subject in a different fashion than we approached it in 2022. Otherwise, we're going to get our brains beaten in by the Democrats. Because they have emotional high ground on that issue. They mischaracterize it, and they're allowed to do so, and they appeal to middle-aged women, and we lose them at the voting booth. Everything that we do hinges on the vote, whether it's a local election, whether it's a mayor's election, whether it's a city council, whether it's a state election, a gubernatorial election, or the president of the United States of America, Congress, and the Senate, of course. Everything hinges on getting people that believe in the Constitution in office, that believe in our founding fathers and the manner in which they set this country on its course. Sadly, socialism is so tenacious and patient. Communism is tenacious and patient. And those that want to advance the cause of socialism in this country, people like AOC, Bernie Sanders, and others, they are patient. And they know they have this advantage going for them. And, Jerry, this is to your point. The natural state of government is growth. Government doesn't remain static on its own. It grows. You have to expend effort to prevent growth. And sadly, the Republican Party has not done so. So we have allowed government to grow and grow and grow and ingrain itself into almost every facet of our life. And that consumes a lot of our earning potential. And sadly, it makes the federal government more and more and more a part of our lives to the point that we become dependent on it. They do so in so many different ways, but they will come into a community and they will replace church-based groups. They will replace charitable groups with government funding. And once that government funding is in place, and once those charitable groups, those church-based organizations have been replaced with government-infused mandates, that never goes away. It's another part of the way that government grows and becomes a part of your daily life. Mirror that with these socialists in Washington, D.C. that are regularly repeating and regurgitating that you have to have government do this or that or the other thing. And if you don't have government in this part of your life or that part of your life, who's going to take responsibility for the lesser thans that won't survive? And they, talk about people dying on the streets and blood in the streets and all of these types of things. All of it designed to continue the growth of government and continue to grow their power and control over your everyday life. They want to centralize power and control. We've seen it over and over and over again all around the world. Look at Venezuela. Look at what Argentina has recently done with Javier Milei.
That's a beautiful thing.
That pushback had to happen, but it only happened when they were at the lowest of the low. Their economy was a disaster, and they recognized it as such. You know what? I don't know that we're close to that, but we're getting closer to the people recognizing, and I have hope in 2024. And I know a lot of people say this every time an election comes around. This is the big one. This is the last one. We've got to get this one right. Man, we have to get this one right. If we can't get this one right in this economic situation, it's just going to get worse. And when the economy gets worse, does the government recognize the error of its ways and pull back from your life and allow the free market to take over and resolve the situation? Of course not. The liberal Democrats step in and say, ooh, the economy's bad because we've not done enough. Let's tax people more. Let's burden people more. Let's take over more means of production. And on and on and on it goes until the entire system collapses. And sadly, what we've seen in other countries when this happens is that a lot of people die. A lot of people die until the general population wakes up to the misdirection that's been going on under their very noses. The Javier Milei story is a beautiful story. If you don't know anything about the new Argentine president, please look him up. Javier Milei, M-I-L-E-I. Did you see one of the provisions? He's got an omnibus package of bills going before a special session of the Argentine legislature. And one of the bills, I want to say it's section, this is off the top of my head, 209. I believe that's right. Where he is making it illegal to refer to any government service as free.
Yeah, I did see that.
It is a brilliant psychological strategy that has been implemented for generations by the political left, that they refer to these things as free. Free money, free money, free money. That's where I came up with it. Anytime we bring up a government service that is quote unquote free, free money, free money, free money. It's nothing. It's never free money. What are you talking about? You don't just make this. If it was free money, the money would have no value. It has to be backed by someone's work product in order for it to have value. And that's your work and my work.
And if you get to that point where the discussion on where the money's going to come from does happen, they just go, I'll tax the rich. They don't pay their fair share, even though the 1% pays 43% of the income tax.
So, yes, you're right. I'm sorry, I got distracted for a moment. I had Phil ask him, what the hell are you thinking? That music sucks. Well, that's the thank you, Bell. You've already answered him. That's the point. Of course it sucks. We're celebrating something wonderful with something terrible. That's the entire point. America is something wonderful, and it is soon to become something terrible. And I did not mean to get into a philosophical discussion or a deep thought discussion about where all of this goes. But I don't know. We have become alcoholics. All of us have become alcoholics. And in order for alcoholics to see the error of their ways, they have to hit rock bottom. We are not, believe it or not, we're not close to rock bottom yet. So you have to change hearts and minds. The point I was trying to make at the beginning of this, the reason I brought up the abortion example, I understand how strongly convicted so many of us are on the issue of abortion, which is why it's a great example. But others don't think as you do on it. And you cannot win that argument through anger and through meanness. and you never will, until we resolve ourselves to win that argument through logic and reason and understanding and love and compassion. And it's not just about that topic, it's about all of them. I do not blame the young skulls of mush for being what they are. We helped create them. I do not blame the 30-some-odd million illegal aliens, by and large, for what they have done. We've allowed it. And if you don't believe that all of us are corrupted in some form or fashion with regard to how much we've allowed government to creep into our lives, why is it, and this is a third rail, baby. Watch out now. Here it comes. Press play and record. Why is it that every time a natural disaster happens, we sit around and wait on the federal government to stop by? Oh, everyone has just, we now take it on face value that it's the role of the federal government to make us whole again because of a natural disaster? That is not the role of the federal government, friend. Yet, we act as if it's an expectation now, because that's the way socialism works. That's the way dependence on government works. And it doesn't come free. I'm excited about Milei. I am, down in Argentina. I'm excited about what he's doing to try to change the basic mindset of his people. And he has told them they're going to go through troubles. They're going to go through a lot of trials. It's going to get worse before it gets better. It is a hell of a thing to have to tell the American people to eat their peas, that it can't just be ice cream and cake. But that's what we have to do in order to get us back right again, in order to become that shining city on a hill again. It's 12:52 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, a lot of response to my diatribe. A brilliant monologue, if I do say so myself. 615-737-9986 on the state of affairs in the United States of America, our dependence on free money, our dependence on the federal government, and where it all leads. And it leads to socialism. We've seen this in other nations around the world, and it never works out. It never works out for the betterment of the average folks. Oh, it works out for the betterment of the, the bourgeoisie, the muckety-mucks, the elite, the political and entertainment elite, they'll be fine. They'll be immune from all of this. You'll suffer. What to do? What to do? 4209 says the Titanic was trying to turn around when it hit the iceberg. I hope we're not too late. 3899 says, you really believe we're smart enough to elect our way out of this mess, even if we're not smart enough? Here's what I believe. I'm a pessimist at heart, and I've admitted as much to you over the years. I don't believe we'll elect ourselves out of this, but I have to hope. I don't like hope. Hope can be a wonderful thing because it can provide you a certain level of salvation when you have no control over your own destiny. Does that make sense to everyone? If all you have is hope, then that indicates that you have no control over what happens next. You have to depend on something else, something exterior to your ability to control the circumstances around you. And I am left, when it comes to the future of the United States of America, with a hope. I hope that we have the ability to navigate with kindness and love these leftists in this country in such a way to turn them around in their way of thinking. Otherwise, as 5916 just put it, it's a wrap. Well, it's a wrap temporarily, but it's a wrap on the America that we've all known until we rise from the ashes. David is next in Nashville with a conversation about the culture war. Hey, David, how are you?
Hey, so just in the face of right-wing populism, doesn't it make sense, especially when you get on social media today and you don't see the logic and reason that you speak of or that you implore others to do when you see the entire cult of personality with MAGA and their entire personality and goal of owning the libs, as they would say. So when you look around social media and you look for the cause of civil war, you look for the cause of uprisings of right-wing minded people, and, from Charlottesville to the days of MAGA, exactly what do you see happening? Like, in the face of right-wing populism, let's be honest with ourselves.
What do you mean by right-wing populism?
The days of MAGA. This will be known in history as a right-wing populist movement, just as we've seen throughout history.
Do you look at populism as a positive, a negative, or neutrally?
No, populism is what it is. It's subjective. It's not negative or positive.
Right.
Now that's the thing. Right-wing populism will breed left-wing populism. So it's just a race to the top, as you could put it. So, but the thing is, the right wing has seen that they have lost the culture wars. They're not represented in Hollywood or entertainment or pop culture. So they see themselves, especially when they see the younger generations who are embracing left-wing populism. The right-wing populist movements do breed events like Charlottesville.
I'm just trying to. I'm not trying to be. I'm not trying to interrupt your train of thought. I'm trying to figure out what you mean when you differentiate right-wing populism, right-wing populism, hold on, right-wing populism and left-wing. Differentiate those two things for me.
Okay, left-wing populism, especially in the culture sense, would be the younger generations who take to the streets, kind of like
Occupy Wall Street is left-wing populism. Remember Occupy Wall Street?
That would be more like a liberal. That would be more like a neoliberal style populism. More, I'd say the anti-war Vietnam movement was
the left-wing populism.
Left-wing, yes. So you have neoliberalism and left-wing populism, which is two different styles of political thought.
All right, so hold your. I want to finish this up. If you have the time on the other side, I'm very intrigued by this call, David. Thank you for making it. So we'll get to the question at hand from David. I think we've kind of defined the terms. I think I get where he's coming from, and I see the differentiation. We'll get to your call momentarily. Jerry as well, and Jay St. Clair coming up. A little dose of Fry J. We need it. I need some humor in my life. I have made myself depressed. during the libertarian lunch. I was in a good mood. I talked. Now I'm in a bad mood. I can't imagine how you feel. Back in a moment.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The Iowa caucus is now less than 2 weeks away. GOP candidates crisscrossing the state there. Former President Trump also adding events, even with a sizable lead in recent polls. In Colorado, Trump is set to be certified as a candidate on the Colorado primary ballot, despite the state's Supreme Court ruling that he's ineligible under the 14th Amendment. ABC's Catherine Faulders has the latest.
This is tied up in the courts a bit here, but the bottom line is if an appeal of that was filed before today, he's essentially back on the ballot. We know the Colorado GOP appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. That was on December 27th. And then Trump's attorneys effectively appealed this on Wednesday, January 3rd. So that put him back on the list. That's why he, of course, is scheduled to be certified on this ballot today.
President Biden will deliver remarks this afternoon at a campaign event in Pennsylvania. Is his first major speech kicking off his re-election bid and is expected to center on threats to democracy that linger 3 years after the January 6th attacks on the Capitol. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Istanbul, Turkey today. It's his first stop on an 8-country Middle East trip, trying to shore up support and keep the Israel-Hamas war from spreading in the region. A Las Vegas man facing federal charges now after a tirade on a flight from Dallas to Bozeman, Montana. The flight diverted after the suspect became violent. ABC's Alex Stone has more on the court filing.
Not only did Keith Fagiana allegedly kick the seat of another passenger, punch a flight attendant multiple times, spit at other passengers, and yell at them, but when the plane made an emergency landing in Amarillo, he allegedly kicked a police officer in the groin and spit on them. But in the end, police say he told them he had been drinking and doesn't remember any of it.
Parts of the Midwest and South under winter weather alerts due to a fast-moving storm. That heavy snow is on tap for much of the Northeast this weekend. You're listening to ABC News.
Friends, over the years, I have rightly been described as a pain in the neck. And I accept that. I know that I am a pain in the neck on occasion, especially when you disagree with me. But I also come with solutions. If I have caused a pain in your neck or your back or your hip or anywhere else on your person, Dr. Gill can help. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief is located in Franklin and easily accessible anywhere within the sound of my voice and well worth that drive. They were the originators of spinal decompression in Middle Tennessee. That says something because now that state-of-the-art technology, when Dr. Gill utilized it 30 years ago, has become an industry standard. That's what the Dr. Gill Center does. They take that cutting-edge technology and they utilize it for your benefit. They've been doing it for well over 30 years now, and they want to help you. If you've been listening to me over these years talk about the Dr. Gill Center, and you've been suffering through pain, why are you suffering any longer? Make the call that so many others have made. Let's get rid of that back pain, neck pain, knee pain without needing to take pills, without popping pills, without taking needles, and without considering surgery. Help is on the way in 2024. It's in the form of the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. Don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gill. 615-882-4838, 882-4838, the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. 105, I think I figured it out. I tried to make myself in a good mood. I put everyone in a bad mood with my description of a dystopian American future in the first hour of the show, the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour. I think I figured it out, Bell. I think I know why I could not escape my bad mood. I got on the scale again for the first time since Thanksgiving.
Nothing good can come of that, especially after Thanksgiving and Christmas.
A lot of people in town.
Got to give yourself a little repair time.
I would like to blame the alcohol. I don't think it was all the alcohol. I think it was a lot of the food. No, it's a lot of the food. In an unrelated matter, you see the shirt I'm wearing? My wife has shrunk it.
No, she hasn't.
That's obviously what's happened.
That is not what's happened at all. You ain't blaming Erica for that. That was your poor choices.
All right, we're going to get to our Friday edition of Jay St. Clair coming up in just a moment. I wanted to finish up with David in Nashville. I wanted to offer him an opportunity to do that because his call was intriguing to me. He was talking about, you set it up and in discussing right-wing populism versus left-wing populism. Just frame it up again for us, David, and then ask the question one more time.
So when you look at right-wing populist movements like what we're seeing today, you see right-wing anger throughout the country, throughout right-wing media, right-wing influencers. You see the built-up anger that leads to things like Charlottesville, Unite the Right rally. You see tiki torches come out. You see January 6th. There is anger that is deemed justified anger and even justified violence when carried out.
I don't know of anybody, by the way, stop. I don't know of anybody that justified what happened in Charlottesville, but anyway, go ahead. I don't know of anybody that you talk about, any influencer that justified the tiki torch moment in Charlottesville.
Whether it's justified or downplayed or
but words mean things, David. I think you can make your point without mischaracterizing the reaction to what happened in Charlottesville in 2017.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the minimization of Charlottesville and saying that there was fine people on both sides.
There were fine people on both sides, and there were also people that were trying to create a riot.
Okay, so the counter protesters.
And by the way, David, if you listen to that entire, come on, man, you're too smart for this. I can tell. You listen to that entire quote. He said, of course there were bad people. Of course I condemn the racism, but there were also good people on both sides. And the good people that he were talking about were historians who were there who wanted to protect the monuments that were being proposed to be taken down.
The Unite the Right rally was not the monument.
And Donald Trump wasn't talking about the Unite the Right rally. He was talking about those the sons of Confederate veterans and the daughters of the Confederacy that were coming together to try to protect the Lee statue, among others.
I was actually in conversation with a lot of right-wing organizers and average conservatives who actually were headed to Charlottesville when they got phone calls from their scouts saying that, well, there's Nazi flags here. There's Nazi flags everywhere.
Oh, you mean you've actually spoken to some of those good people that Donald Trump was talking about?
Yeah, they did. They weren't there.
Well, good. I'm glad.
They turned around and went home.
I'm glad. Well, not all of them did, David. That's my point.
So when you find yourself next to Nazis, when you find yourself on the same side as Nazis, what is that? What does that make you?
They weren't on the same side. I mean, I don't want to relitigate this. It's ridiculous to do so. To suggest that there were not. You're suggesting that there were no people there that were simply there to attempt to protect the
monuments.
What I'm
saying is when you show up and you find yourself on the same side as Nazis,
David, the political left does it all the time too. I mean,
you would say that if we found ourselves next to radical leftists,
I've never. Let me give you an example. Excuse me, David. Let me give you an example. I have never condemned individuals that rightly so had a problem with and were very emotional about the death of George Floyd because it was obvious that the police officer in that case, Derek Chauvin, did something wrong and they wanted justice as a result. But that doesn't mean that I justified the burning down of American cities as a result of that happening. Do you?
I would actually say George Floyd was a catalyst, and there was actually a lot of
you are justifying the burning down of American cities as a result of that.
I'm just saying that's just a product of what happens when you don't.
Do you condemn the burning down of private property as a result of what happened to George Floyd? Condemn it.
I don't condemn. I don't condone.
Goodbye. You know what's good for the goose is good for the gander, David. Call me back when you can try to not act as a hypocrite on the phone. I try not to. I don't condemn the people that were upset about George Floyd. I was upset about George Floyd. I thought it was ridiculous what Derek Chauvin did. And Derek Chauvin received justice. But you're excusing the behavior of the individuals that burned American cities to the ground as a result of it? David, what you just did was just as bad as excusing the behaviors of the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville. Well, it's just a natural result of... Come on, man. We don't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way, David. I wanted it to be a good conversation. But sadly, you cannot see, if you overlay the 2 points that you're making about right-wing populism and left-wing populism, you're treating those two things quite differently. You excuse the behavior on one side and you condemn the behavior on the other, and refuse to accept that there was a legitimate premise by some involved in the initial rally in Charlottesville to begin with. Makes no sense. BLM and Antifa burned Portland to the ground. They burned Seattle to the ground. They burned Milwaukee to the ground. They burned Minnesota, Minneapolis, I should say, to the ground. There's no justification in the destruction of private property as a result of what happened to George Floyd. Just like there was no justification in the results of the Unite the Right rally, and no justification in a person losing their life at the hands of a self-avowed racist. Let's try to remain logically consistent. I'll tell you what we'll do, because I want to calm down. Break early, and then we'll get to Friday with Jay St. Clair. He's coming up. Your calls, your questions for our legal correspondent, life consultant, and gambling partner.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Jay St. Clair coming up next. Well, I've calmed down. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I don't mind differences of opinion or different points of view. I promise you I don't. David, I hope that you are listening, and I hope that you know that. What I cannot condone is hypocrisy. I abhor it. And that is why you got my ire, and that is why I terminated the telephone call. That and the fact that I wanted to move on to this segment of the broadcast day. It's one of the favorite portions of our week, and I absolutely adore it. It is a time for me to recollect my thoughts and to commune with my best friend, life consultant, gambling buddy, golfing partner, and legal expert. He's a Tennessee man. His name's Jay St. Clair. It's Friday. You know, I've never known Jay St. Clair to get angry like I do. We're almost yin and yang in that regard. I don't know what it would take to get Jay mad.
Maybe that's why you two get along so well.
I think it's a part of it. Jay St. Clair joins us on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WT. And as I like to say on these Friday visits, Jay, how's it going, buddy?
You know, I'm having just a great day, man. We may have figured out what we need to do to get that extra degree of negative camber in the left front. So that's win number one. Win number two is I'm at home. I dropped the car off the race shop this morning. I'm sitting here chillaxing with my Secretary of Homeland Security, and I have a pot roast simmering in the crock pot for supper tonight.
Wow.
If I were any better, I would either be Belle or that football player that's dating Taylor Swift. And I'm not sure which one's better.
If I was any better, I would be the football player dating Taylor Swift.
I am 1,000, and I hate it when people do this. I am 1,000% sure that I know who's got it better. And it's not Belle. Well, I can't say that I've got, what'd you say, a pot roast?
Pot roast, yeah.
Yeah, see, I don't have pot roast coming, but you know what I got going?
Ooh, well, if he's cooking it, it's going to be good.
Chili.
Oh, it'll be good.
It's a chili weekend this weekend. I love that.
Yep. No, I love it too.
Jay, I gave you a little bit of a homework assignment, and I love doing that to you because you are worth every penny that I pay you when I do these things. But it's based, and it merits a little bit of backstory. It's based on some engagement that I've had on social media with several elected officials. And one of them in particular is a representative here in the state of Tennessee by the name of Justin Jones, who is on social media. And when I say social media in this context, I'm talking about the X machine, formerly known as Twitter.
Right.
And apparently, through my communication with Justin, many people have reached out to me, listeners have reached out to me on social media and said to me, you know what, I wish I could see what he's saying, but he's blocked me.
Wow. And
that seemed to be in contradiction to several cases that I've seen around the United States Supreme Court. And or rather the United States. And I believe that this matter is heading to or has already gotten to the Supreme Court level. And the question is, if an elected official chooses to be on social media, does that require them to accept all people who want to associate with them on social media, or are they permitted to block individuals from seeing their social media platforms? And that's kind of where I wanted to have that conversation with you today, because I don't think that these, and it's not just Justin Jones, by the way. I've now been told that there are a lot of Republicans that are doing this as well, blocking people that they don't like.
Right.
And I'm wondering if this is legal or not.
Well, that issue is in front of the United States Supreme Court right now, man.
Huh.
You're exactly on that. I think the oral arguments were in October. It's a complicated issue, and so we may not get a definitive decision on that until, it could be up in May or June. It may be one of those last, the Supreme Court term ends around the 1st of June, and they kind of hold the big cases until the end.
Mm-hmm.
So we may not know until then. Now, let me be clear. If this is an official government social media account, which I don't think these are, the law is very clear. They cannot block people. But the harder question is when somebody says, Trump, there's an official Twitter page for the president of the United States, and the government owns that. And so when Biden got elected, he started running it. There's no question that they can't block. The harder question is when a governmental person has a private social media account, can they block people? And I think the answer is going to depend upon how much they use that account to conduct official business.
Mm-hmm.
So right now it's an open question, Matt. There's not a defense. There was actually a case in the Sixth Circuit which covered one of the cases that went to the Supreme Court, which covers Tennessee. And in that case, they held under the particular facts of that case, Matt, and that's very important. These cases are very fact-specific.
Mm-hmm.
But under the particular facts of that case, they said the governmental official there did not violate the First Amendment by blocking the people that he blocked. But that governmental official was not using that account very much at all for official business. So it's an open question, but we'll get a definitive answer within the next 6 months. But I can't sit here right now and tell you that what they are doing is clearly unconstitutional.
Right. So I remember a case back in Alabama, and I think I have the details of this right, with
Secretary of State, right?
Yeah, John Merrill.
Yep.
Who had two accounts. He had his official account as Secretary of State, and then he had a personal account, what he called a personal account.
Right.
He did not block anyone on the official account. He blocked several people who were trolling him and just being really jerks online. He blocked some of those people, and I want to say they filed against him, and his argument was, look, I blocked no one on my official account. This is my personal account. Those are two different things. So I guess that makes sense. I mean, I hate it. I know you love it because you've made a tidy living at these shades of gray.
Hey, Bill, you listening?
Bell's listening. He's over there.
Yes.
What's my favorite color?
Green?
Gray.
No.
Because I turned gray into green.
See,
okay. Got it.
I guessed when the first time St. Clair asked me this question, I guessed green too. And he goes, no. It's gray because I can make gray green.
That's just green with extra steps.
Well, you got to work for it.
That's right. I mean, he's not being lazy over there. He's working on it.
Given to you. So
the question then is before the court, and it is, what is a publicly I guess I'm trying to figure out an analogy that makes sense to people, and I guess it would be like I'm a government official and this is my office, and I'm open.
Here, let me give you this example because
Okay.
this is pretty recent. I think the mayor of Boston recently held a holiday party and invited only people of color.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they messed up. They sent the invitation out to too many people. And so white folks found out about it, and they challenged it. And so, wait a minute, that's race discrimination. And her response is, look, this is a private party in the house. I can decide who to invite or not invite whoever I want to. And so, yeah, think of it like that. Is it a private party or is it a gathering open to all the public? If it's a gathering open to all the public, then you cannot exclude people based on their political views. That violates the First Amendment. That's the best analogy I can come up with, man.
Mm-hmm.
But, here's what makes it hard, and the Supreme Court said it makes it hard, is we're all used to a brick-and-mortar world. All the analogies that we think of are all kind of physical analogies. Well, this is digital, right? And it makes it hard. And the other thing that makes it hard is there are competing First Amendment interests. Private citizens have a First Amendment interest in having their voice heard, but also even public officials, they're private individuals too. I mean, sort of. At least part of them they are. They're kind of hybrids.
Well, and here's here's I just thought of it while you were talking there, Jay. Like, if I'm a public official, you and I are public officials, and we hold a monthly town hall,
Right.
and we invite everyone to our town hall, that's like allowing them to view our page. But what I want to say is that I don't think it's any question that the individual in question, there's this mute function on Twitter.
Right.
Where you're not blocking someone, they can still see what you do, but you don't see all of their stuff that they send to you, right? And
or if you respond, I don't think they see it.
Well, I think on the so the block, they don't get to see what you do. The mute, they get to see what you do, but you just don't hear all of their clap. You don't see anything that they do. You've muted them, So it would be akin in my analogy. We have a town hall, and we've had this knucklehead that comes in and tries to disrupt the town hall every time. And we say to the knucklehead, look, you're welcome to be here because it's open to everybody, but you're not getting to ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of muting him.
Got it.
What blocking him would be is to say you don't get to come into the town hall at all.
Right, you can't come. Yeah, no, that's good now. You're transposing the digital world into the brick and mortar world, and that's a pretty smart way of doing it, man.
Which I've been sitting next to a lawyer for the last 20 years on the golf course. That's what I've been doing.
You have just about earned your law degree on the golf course.
Well, I'm certainly not focusing on golf. I'll tell you that. I must be thinking about something else. We're getting a lot of questions in here, some of them having to do with this social media conversation. But before the bottom of the hour, because I want to get into other questions, several people are asking you about Trump and some of the issues that have come up over the last several weeks. And so I want to get into that. But based on the time that I'm looking at on the clock here, I'm going to ask you this question first. 4209, who is obviously a regular listener to these Friday visits, has asked, before you're done, ask him about Cale Yarborough. How about that? Cale Yarborough was the first driver that I liked in NASCAR. And the reason that I liked him, and if I'm wrong about this, then I'm going to have to question a lot of my memory. He drove the Hardee's car.
Yep.
And I remember him, and I liked Hardee's because my grandpa would take me to Hardee's every now and again, so I liked Cale Yarborough. I remember that back in the 1980s.
Terrific driver, great ambassador for the sport. I mean, just everything about it's great. The two things I most remember about Cale Yarborough is when he was qualifying at Daytona, and I think he turned the first lap over 200 miles an hour. You get 2 laps at Daytona. And, being the racer that he is, at the second lap, he was determined to go faster. And that's the first time we saw a car get on its, just flip by itself at Daytona. And there's this remarkable picture of Matt where he's upside down, sideways on the track, and he's looking straight ahead at the track. He's figuring out how he's going to drive his way out of it. Just incredible. And then, of course, maybe one of the most iconic scenes is Daytona in 1979. I mean, I'll never forget it. I was snowed in Knoxville. I was actually interning for the General Assembly in Nashville at the time. Went back to Knoxville for the weekend. And there was the big snowstorm. That's part of the reason, the viewership for that Daytona 500 was so big. And he and Donnie Allison, last lap going down the backstretch. And I've seen an interview with him and Donnie and Bobby talking about the fight afterwards, and it is hilarious. If you haven't seen that, you got to see it. Because Bobby Allison says, I can't believe that Cale Yarborough kept hitting my fist with his face. I've never seen anybody fight like that.
Well, I would have thought, and this just goes to show you, I mean, Cale Yarborough was like from either North or South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know where.
South Carolina country boy. I mean, country.
But when I was a kid, I had a perception that he was a Yankee because he got in a fight with the Allisons. Does that make sense? I knew who the Allisons were, and I didn't really know who. But when I first found out about that, I was like, that must be a Yankee fighting some Southern boys. but it's not what that was. I mean, and somehow he became the bad guy and all that. And I guess it's because everybody loved the Allison gang.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you got to have a villain, right? I mean, and so somebody's got to be the hero, somebody's got to be the villain, and the fact that the two of them were acting, Bobby's not involved in it at all, and he comes around on the cool down lap and pulls over,
Gets out of his car.
He said, "I'm going to go take care of my little brother." I mean, it was just amazing. Everything about it was just. So the answer to your listener is, I have one of the best race car drivers ever, one of the best ambassadors for NASCAR ever, a great American, a great human being.
And for those who don't know, the question was asked because we lost Cale Yarborough at the age of 84 on December 31st on New Year's Eve. 131, we'll continue with Jay. I'm going to ask Jay a couple of questions, and I'll give you an opportunity to do the same on the Super Talk or Super Text line, 615-737-9986. One question will be where we are on the Trump situation involving Colorado and Maine, where he thinks that's going. And number two, I'm going to ask him a question about the FBI's role in collection of data, and is there a legitimate reason why the FBI would not have released some of the information that they collected on Epstein Island? That's on the way. It's 132 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. If you have a question or a comment for our legal man, Jay St. Clair, now's the time to get him in. 615-737-9986. As we continue the conversation with Jay, we turn our attention to legal matters, and several of you have written in some of your legal questions. Get those in on the Super Text line, or you can call them in as well at those aforementioned telephone numbers. One person asks this, Jay, as soon as I get my page to jump up. Jay, aside from the obvious, is there or are there legal reasons the FBI would sit on evidence? This is in particular reference to Jeffrey Epstein, but I could broaden it to any evidence that we referred to earlier, i.e. surveillance videos or other evidence obtained. Since Jeffrey Epstein is dead and there's no trial pending for him, what's the justification for keeping some of that information collected during that raid secret?
Well, one justification could be that they have open investigations into other people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a potential legitimate justification, Matt, and that might be, I don't know if it's likely, but it's certainly possible. There were a lot of crimes committed by a lot of people, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, the clock's ticking on the statute's limitations. So it's, well, let me say it this way. It's either that they're wanting to protect the integrity of any ongoing investigations, or they want to protect the reputation of some of the people that are on those tapes. That's the only two reasons I can think of, man.
Well, and I think, and this is more for my world rather than your world. Well, let me ask it and try to couch it in terms that might be a little more your world, because, you know, Jay and I, for you newbies out there, we kind of separate things. My world's the political realm and why people do the way that they do because of politics and all of that, and Jay deals with the legal matters. Well, would there be a legal way for us to force this issue to get an answer to that question? Why, after 4 years post of this raid where they apparently gathered all of this information and they arrested Jeffrey Epstein as a result of the information gathered and charged him, and why we've not seen the results of that raid? In other words, is there a way to get some form of answer?
You know, I shouldn't do this, but I can't help myself. I'm going to answer that question with a question. Before lawyering. Why have we not yet gotten the manifesto of the Nashville School?
Yeah, there you go. I knew.
That's your answer.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, when you get down to where the goats can graze on it, there's no reason that's going to satisfy us, but there's a lot of reasons that they'll blather about.
Yeah, there's no reason in law. Legally, they could release that document today.
Right.
So there's something else going on. And same thing with Epstein. We don't know what's going on with Epstein, right? I mean, there's people all over the internet trying to tell us all what's going on with Epstein. The truth of the matter is, average people that aren't privy to the inside information, we don't know what happened. Well, all I know is it is a huge cover-up.
Yeah, you got that right.
What I know is there is much more about this that we don't know than we do.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I know with certainty.
Jay, what do we know? What are your thoughts on the latest involving Trump? Let's start. I mean, if you have any updates on any of the other cases, feel free to share those. But, you know, we had this latest, I think since the last time we talked, this Secretary of State in Maine, came out and just unilaterally decided that she was going to determine that he was guilty of insurrection, which I don't think that's the role of a Secretary of State. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's the case. The Supreme Court, I suppose, is going to consider this or is considering it as we speak. Do you anticipate a fairly swift determination on their part? Has to be, right?
You know, I don't know about the timing, Matt. We'll take it maybe one step at a time. The first question is whether they will even take the case. You know, the press is reporting it as an appeal, and I get it because that's the way that just makes sense. I try not to be overly technical when I'm talking about legal stuff, but it's technically not an appeal. It's a petition for certiorari. The Supreme Court does not have to take this case. They can just decline it. It takes 4 justices to vote to take it. I believe they will take the case. Will they rule on it promptly? You know, right now, at least in Colorado, and I think also in Maine, there is no time is not of the essence because Colorado order is stayed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He is on the ballot. I told you a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
You mentioned clean kill. There's 0% chance. No, I think it says it's 100% chance Trump will be on the primary ballot. Because I knew that they had put that state in place. And I think the same thing is true in Maine. So time is not really of the essence, Matt. So I don't think they're going to, decide this within a month. I think they'll take the case, and I think they'll probably just put it on regular docket. They may expedite it a little bit. But it's not going to be like, Bush v. Gore where they're going to decide it in weeks. It's going to be months, and I am very confident in saying the outcome of that will be that that states cannot on their own choose to disqualify Trump from running for president. That's what I believe the outcome of that case will be, and I think it will be decided soon enough that at least he will not be ineligible to be on the ballot in any state in the country. That's my prediction.
The big question will be, and I would agree with you in the political lane that the Supreme Court also almost has to make a determination on the specifics of this. But a lot of times, those of us in my world want them to make some sort of broader declaration that, what happened on, for example, and I don't expect them to do this, by the way. What happened on January 6th was not an insurrection. Y'all need to get a hold of yourselves. Get a grip, people. Right?
No, I don't think they'll say that. Now, they might. I suspect they won't, but they might say that states don't have the power to determine that. I mean, there's many issues in this case, man, one of which is the 14th Amendment says Congress has the power to pass statutes to enforce the provisions of the amendment. Well, they never passed any statute about this provision. And so one of the questions is who has the authority to decide whether there was an insurrection? Somebody has it, right? Well, who? Well, we don't know because Congress never passed a law. And that's what they could say. They could say, well, we're not even getting to the question of was there an insurrection because Congress has not yet passed a law saying how that question is to be decided.
Right.
So until Congress passes a law saying how who gets to decide that, then nobody's disqualified. Right? See, that's a way that kind of decision could get a 9-0 vote.
Well, and, the court, at least the Supreme Court, maybe not appellate courts, but in our history talking about this together, you have infused in my head that the court is not, it is very leery of overstepping its bounds in terms of, and if Congress doesn't answer a question, they're not going to answer for Congress.
Exactly. No, that's exactly right. That's particularly the conservative part of this court. But see, I think even the liberal side of the court may like that because they're not ruling anything. They're not saying whether it was an insurrection or not. They're not saying whether Trump's a good guy or not. They're saying that Congress has the authority under the Constitution to establish a process for deciding whether somebody is disqualified for being an insurrectionist. Congress has not done that. Since there is no procedure for doing that, no one can be disqualified under that provision.
It's a similar question to ask you, an unrelated subject, but I think a similar question. And it came up earlier in the show regarding Joe Biden and the southern border. You and I have talked about this many times. We talked about it, and you educated me on some of this, frustratingly so, I might add, Jay, on the matter of Barack Obama and DACA and whether or not Barack Obama had really unilaterally had the authority to enforce immigration law in a manner of his own choosing. And it frustrates people when we see what's happening on the southern border. We ask ourselves, well, why doesn't someone step in and make Joe Biden follow the law? Mm-hmm. And what you've taught me is that the courts aren't going to get into the business of telling an equal branch of government how to do their job, right?
That's right. I know that's right. The people that The people who step in to tell Joe Biden to do his job are called voters.
That's right. I mean,
Or it could, in extreme cases, it could be members of Congress in impeachment.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like well, I don't guess you've been there, but if you've ever been on I-40 from Nashville to Knoxville on a game day, don't drive 70 miles an hour. You'll get run over. Well, later I'm going to sue the highway patrol out here for not giving these people tickets for speeding. Well, you can't sue them for that.
Right. You can't tell them how to do their job.
That's right.
Well, but it is and I described it this way earlier today, Jay, that it is the best system that we've got going, but the system's not perfect, and it exposes something of an imperfection in the system, that the system depends on our system of government depends on the voters having a respect for the rule of law and voting for individuals that also reflect that respect for rule of law. And there could come a time where, Matt Murphy, announces his candidacy for president and says, you know what, I'm just going to open the border up. When I'm not going to do any of that. That's a big waste of money.
Right.
And if the people vote for me, I guess Congress should or could step in and impeach me as a result of that. But it's just a part of the system of government that we have that is imperfect, but once again, it's the best thing going.
What was it, Churchill, who said that, I mean, it may have been democracy, but or whatever, constitutional republicanism is the worst form of government ever, except for all the others.
That's right. He had a way to turn the phrase. All right, a couple of other questions for you, Jay, but we have to do it right after this break. Jay St. Clair is with us. If you have a legal question for Jay, I promise you he has an answer. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. Steve buttering Jay up. Wow, Jay is brilliant. I will tell him that you said so. And 0473 says that quote was Ronald Reagan. I'm going to fact check this 0473, and I'll give you the facts in just a moment. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's the world-famous Glock store. As simple as this, friends. If you want a trip to the Glock store, you'll find incredible Glocks for sale. You'll find accessories for sale. You'll find everything that you can imagine and shake a stick at when it comes to Second Amendment protection for you and your family. Obviously, those are all there and available at the Glock store, but you're going to find out a little more than that. You're going to find out about training. In the month of January, the Glock store wants to remind you that it's one thing to own a gun. It's another thing to understand how to use the gun, and they want to train you as to how to use your gun. It's not enough to own. Let's find out how to safely, securely, and effectively use that gun. Glock Store is exclusive and unique. Shoot 270 indoor range. They don't have lanes. They don't believe in lanes. They don't believe that lanes, quote unquote, are a viable training method. Every session is a training session with your own private room and a professional firearms instruction. All January, if you mention WTN, mention me, Matt Murphy, and Supertalk 99.7 WTN, you'll get incredible discounts. All range sessions are half off. Free gun rentals with your paid range session. And third, they'll double whatever you paid for your session and apply it to a Shoot 270 range membership. How about that? So not only do you get half off range sessions, you get gun rentals for free during the month of January, and they're doubling whatever you paid for your session and applying it to your range membership this year at Shoot 270. That's a bargain, folks. Go to shoot270.com or go to Glock Store today, right off of Elm Hill Pike on Airlane Drive. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the Glock Store. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A few more moments with Jay St. Clair, our good friend and legal correspondent. He's with us. Good Tennessee man as well. 51 minutes after the hour. I have the answer to your question. 0473 was, questioning our source on the quote. And I have the quote and I have the source. The quote is this: democracy, it's pretty simple. It's a lot simpler than we were making it. Jay, you ready?
Yep.
Democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others.
Yep.
1947, he said it before a House of Commons session in jolly old England. Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm certain that Ronald Reagan has repeated it, by the way, but it was originally attributed to Churchill.
Well, in Churchill, the lady they were having dinner somewhere, and the lady says, "Mr. Churchill, you're drunk." And he turned to her and said, "Ma'am, you're ugly. When I wake up in the morning, I'll be sober."
That was, I think there's an old anecdote about Churchill and Lady Astor, I want to say.
Oh, yeah. She's the one that said, "Mr. Churchill, if you were my husband, I'd give you poison."
And he said, "Madam, if you were my wife, I'd drink it." Bobby's got a question about DUIs. Jay, oh, crud. I'm screwed up. I hung up on Jay. I accidentally hung up on my man. Yeah, it's one of my favorite political anecdotes. Churchill had a lot of them. But, the old Lady Astor quote, they were at a dinner party, and Churchill was being his typical self, and Churchill said, or Lady Astor said, "Mr. Churchill, if you were my husband, I'd poison that drink. Madam, if you were my wife, I would drink it." All right, I got Jay back. I forgot to put you on lockdown there, Jay. We've got Bobby in Coopertown with a DUI question for our man Jay St. Clair. Bobby, you're on the radio. Go right ahead.
Hello, gentlemen. Yes, night, October the 4th, the last thing I remember, I took some Ambien. Well, the next memory I have, I was being led to my cell. I'd already been blood drawn, already been booked in. And I asked the nice lady that was escorting me to my cell, I said, "Do you have a lot of people that in here for what I've done?" Because I didn't know. She said, "Yes, DUIs and business is good." Well, my question is, do I have any kind of shot and getting this pleaded down or not guilty? Because it's Ambien, and it's not like I had, I don't drink alcohol, but it's not like I drank a bunch of alcohol and then wanted to go see what was going on in town.
Yep. No, you absolutely have a shot, but you're not going to like this, but this is just the way it is. First thing you got to do is get a lawyer. And you got to get a lawyer who handles DUI cases in the county in which this happened. Yes, you have a shot, and it depends very much on who the judge is. The law says that if you're driving in an impaired state, that's against the law, and that could be because of prescription medication. But some judges might look at that and say, I'm not going to convict you under these facts. So yes, you absolutely have a shot, but it's just facts of life. You got to get a lawyer. You need a good lawyer, and frankly, it's worth the money.
Well, I just can't afford a lawyer. I just can't.
Well, a DUI conviction is going to end up costing you probably $5,000.
Bobby,
okay.
Try your best to get an attorney.
It's going to be better spent getting a lawyer.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for the advice.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry you're having to deal with this.
By the way, I drove 2 miles that night.
Yeah. No, listen, if I'm the judge, I'm turning you loose, Bobby. And you can go in there and try to plead your case yourself, but I'm just telling you, the way these criminal cases work, you're going to be a lot better off if you're in there with a lawyer.
I agree with you. Okay.
Even one that's not very good, because when judges face criminal defendants that don't have lawyers, even at a subconscious level, it changes the way they look at the case. If you didn't even take the money or time or trouble to hire a lawyer, it just subconsciously, Bobby, it changes the way they look at you.
I understand. I loaned money for 20 years, and I was on the other side of this. I was the one loaning money to get their cars out and to get attorneys. So I understand.
Yep.
Well, Bobby, thank you for the call. Hope everything works out for you. Yeah, let us know. You know, you said a lot there, Jay, and it bears repeating. It bears kind of circling back to that when you, I mean, you know, the old saying is that what is the old saying? The fool for a client.
A person represents himself, has a fool for a client.
And I understand that people, you know, we joke about lawyers, we tell jokes about lawyers, we have fun with you when you come on the show, but perception has a lot to do with the results within a courtroom, and what you just said means a lot. That if a judge is sitting there, and you know, maybe you can make the case in front of the right judge. Maybe you are eloquent enough individually, if you're listening, that you can do a good job in presenting your case and convince a judge that you're right. But boy, oh boy, you're behind the eight ball if you're representing yourself and you don't have an attorney beside you.
No, so that's a really tough needle to thread on your own, because there's legal concepts that lay people are not going to know. But then again, it's just the impression that it gives to the judge. Is that right? No. Is that reality? Yes.
Well, and I would note, and Bobby, I know that you know this, but it bears repeating for those in the listening audience. We typically, when we say DUI, we consider that drunk driving. It's not just a drunk driving. Driving under the influence is said that way for a reason. And I would think that if you're under the influence of Ambien, that would be considered
a violation of the law.
Yeah,
that's right.
Right. Jay, you know how much I love it, but time has come to say goodbye. I appreciate you, my friend, everything that you do for us. I hope that you're out at the racetrack this weekend.
Not this weekend, but next weekend.
All right. Well, get that camber fixed, buddy.
Love you, brother.
All right. See you. There's Jay St. Clair joining us for a good-spirited hour of conversation regarding the law and other matters. I love what Jay said regarding lawyers. I mean, I know I pick on lawyers too, but I mean, it should not be this way. But I believe my man when he says it, that if you're sitting across from a judge and you're accused of something like a DUI, and he sees that in the time between your arrest and the time that you appear in court, that you don't have an attorney, that's going to say a lot about it. Now, Danny writes in and says, what about a public defender? Yes, I had a public defender. I am ashamed to say that I've gone through this in college. And I thought, I'll tell you this story, because I thought that I could do the same thing. I thought that I could stand in front of the judge as a college student and negotiate my way into a payment schedule over, I pleaded guilty. I'm ashamed to tell you that when I was in college, I was convicted of a DUI. I'm embarrassed by that, but it is a fact, and I thank God I didn't hurt anybody, and I thank God that I learned my lesson from it. But I stood before a judge, and I was like, well, it's my understanding that you could offer me a payment schedule. And he said, you need to go to the corner over there where you see those public defenders, and you need to talk with one of them, because if you don't come up with a different answer in about 15 minutes, you're going upstairs. Upstairs was jail. I got right with my public defender real quick. One more hour to go. It's time for Friday Mac Attack. That's right after the real news on Super Talk 99.7 W10.
It is 2 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Right now, 51 degrees, mostly cloudy day here in Nashville. We got a full weather forecast to let you know what the weekend skies look like coming up in 2 minutes. Crime in Tennessee. Police now looking for 43-year-old Corey Frazier 2 weeks after a deadly shooting. The incident happened on December 22nd near Brick Church Pike when a man crashed into a telephone pole through a ditch. At first, it was thought of a deadly crash, but then was investigated as a targeted shooting. Once investigators knew that he was shot, 43-year-old Richard Wilder was found dead and allegedly came after an argument with Frazier where he tried to drive away. Crime Stoppers is offering a reward of $5,000 for any information leading to an arrest. RSV cases have risen in the U.S., and now a couple in Oklahoma wants parents to know how deadly that it can be. They had no idea before their 10-day-old baby died. Alex Stone.
Elijah Dexter was just 10 days old. Hours after a checkup at the hospital, he died over New Year's as a result of RSV. His heartbroken parents, who are thankful they got Christmas with him, say they have a message for other parents that RSV is real and deadly.
Now I see how deadly it can turn fast.
He had developed a cough, and then he died. Dallas Dexter saying,
I just wanted more people to be aware.
Oklahoma Children's Hospital says 17% of its cases right now are RSV. That's up from a month ago.
And the Attorney General says the recently passed tougher background gun check law is working. Here's Andy Field.
It was a rare two-party congressional vote that improved the FBI's instant criminal background check for gun purchases. Attorney General Merrick Garland saying it helped stop more than 500 gun sales that would have been illegal. The new and old system combined stopped nearly 2,000 prohibited firearms sales last year. That law, part of the bipartisan Safer Communities Act passed last June.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, folks, it's Matt Murphy. Let me tell you about a little shop that I found I guess almost a year ago now, down in Franklin, and I discovered that there was another shop at L&L Market in Nashville, and that shop is Savory Spice. Right off the square in Franklin, Holly David, local owners of Savory Spice, and man, oh man, what a great place to be if you're interested in upping your game in the kitchen. So in the aftermath of the holiday season, maybe you're looking to cook a little differently. Perhaps you're looking to up that food game by cooking more often and not going out to eat. Whatever your reason, let's get to Savory Spice. They've got so many different spices for you, everything for every expertise and every training level within the kitchen. They can help you if you don't know anything about the kitchen, or if you're an expert chef, they're there for you with the superior spices that you need to elevate that flavor level. Look, you're grown, okay? It's time to elevate that food game. And the best way to elevate that food game is to elevate your spice game. You elevate your spice game at Savory Spice. Ask them about some of their prepackaged spices. Ask them about their delicious flavored salts. I'm a personal fan of the Alderwood smoked sea salt. I love it. Absolutely love it. Put it on just about everything. And matter of fact, I put it on eggs this morning. Savory Spice, 2 locations. Once again, L&L Market in Nashville on Charlotte Pike, and in Franklin, just off the square. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Savory Spice. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show. We're finishing ourselves up for this session of the broadcast day. This program will make way for The Drive and Brian Wilson, and we're finishing up for the week as well. It's a shortened week, it feels like a week of Sundays, but it's only been 4 days. since we were celebrating New Year's Day. But it's 2:05, almost 2:06, and a good afternoon to you. Hope you're doing well. We'll get into a few other matters. I will eventually play you the difference between a Vivek Ramaswamy and a Nikki Haley. That's coming up probably at a 2:35 segment. We'll do that in a few moments. We talked earlier about how elected officials are not or maybe will be allowed to block other individuals on their social media platforms. I'll get more into that in a moment. There is a new trove of Jeffrey Epstein-related information. There's another dump that happened about 30 or 40 minutes ago, dissecting that, trying to figure out if there's anything new there. Joe Biden, any minute now, will be delivering a speech about the future of democracy and how if you don't elect Joe Biden, democracy's going, well, you know what? We probably won't be carrying that for you live as we've other things to do. Thank you. As a matter of fact, these are the things that we have to do. It's Friday. It's 2:06. For you newbies in the listening audience, we like to turn our attention to slightly different matters. We call it Friday Mac Attack. Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, I pointed. You were looking that way. I mean, that's on me, though.
Oh, yeah.
I think I've officially run out of gas for the week.
Because usually you go, Friday Mac Attack with a big point.
Mac Attack! It's like Friday Mac Attack. What's going on, Mac Maury?
First one of the new year, Friday Mac Attack.
First Friday Mac Attack of the new year. It's I think it's your second day of the week, I think. If I'm not mistaken.
Third, but
whatever. Yeah, third, mister. What were you taking? Was Tuesday a recovery day for Mac Moore?
I was feeling crap. I'm still feeling cruddy. I went my lunch break. I took a 30-minute nap.
Did you know?
Yeah. Because I'm just needing all the sleep.
By the way, have you taken your dog back to that dog park? Speaking of things that you do during your break.
No, I haven't since.
You need to do that.
I do. And hopefully she's there.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Did we talk about that on the radio? I think we did.
I think Belle told me you did one of the days that I wasn't here. Yeah.
I think we did, that you took your beloved pooch, Copper,
yes,
to a dog park, and a woman said, no.
No, actually, no.
No.
I was like, wait, what?
What do you mean? No, I do, because I was telling the story, and folks were like, well, why didn't you just blow through that? And I was like, I think he was more shocked than anything.
I was very shocked.
Confused. And
I could tell the other people at the dog park were like looking at me like they knew like this is
a problem.
Yeah, like this woman does this, man. I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. Like,
I want to go with you. I want this woman in my life.
They were waiting for you to stand up for yourself and take her out.
Don't you want this woman in your life?
Yes.
I want more of this person in my life. Frickin' Karen. Karen.
It would not be enjoyable for her, but it would be for me.
Oh, it'd be great.
But speaking of enjoyable, do you know how much I love the fact that Karen has become like the nomenclature for an awful woman? Because my sister's named Karen.
Nice.
And I've felt that way all my life, and so I'm glad that you guys are finally catching up.
Everyone's catching up.
All Karens are awful. Anyway, so for those who are new to the show, tell them all about Friday Mac Attack. I like for you to describe what we do on Friday Mac Attack as opposed to me doing it.
Well, Friday Mac Attack, we let the hair down, literally or figuratively. We just have a good time. We have some laughs. And amongst all that, we conduct a draft every Friday. So it's 3 rounds. We each get 3 picks, and we draft a bunch of different things. We draft whatever, suits us this Friday. We've drafted cards. We've drafted cereal. We've drafted cartoons, our favorite cartoons, our favorite holidays, Christmas movies.
And this week is teams that beat the Chiefs.
Okay.
Who are you guys playing?
Got the Chargers in L.A.
Does it matter?
It does not. We are locked in as the 3 seed.
That's why Mahomes isn't playing in the game.
Mahomes is not playing, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you'll sit a bunch of people in.
Travis needs 16 yards for 1,000 on the season, so I imagine we'll play him for 1 drive, have him catch 2 passes, and get him out of there.
While we're doing a little sports here, I try not to trample on Brian Wilson's Wide World of Sports with Mac Bory, which is a great segment, by the way.
525.
So did you watch the Tennessee bowl game?
I got to catch some of it. I was in the car for some of it, but yes.
A lot of Tennessee Volunteer fans are very excited, as well they should be. What's his name? Nico or whatever?
Nico. Iamaleava.
Yeah, you better work on that for the podcast, pal.
Iamaleava, yeah.
By the way, for those who have not availed themselves of your podcast, I include myself in this number. I keep telling I suck. Dan Mandis has listened to your podcast.
Dan's listened. He gave me notes. It was great. It does. I needed it. I wanted some critiques.
More content. More audio.
Exactly. More audio. That was it. More audio.
Did he tell you more audio?
He told me more audio. I was like, okay. I mean, it's.
I told him to let us know whenever a new episode goes up so we can retweet it. He hadn't done it once.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Come on, man.
Let's go.
Yeah, a new episode will come out next week. It'll be the first episode that's a part of our sister station umbrella on their website. It'll be yeah.
Oh, good for you. So 2024, you'll be platformed on the Zone.
On the Zone.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's great. That's
I'm
fabulous.
very excited about it.
Good stuff.
Thank
All
you.
right, so without further ado, it's draft time.
Oh yeah.
Do we want to get the draft order before we announse what the draft subject is?
Yeah, I like that.
I like that too. I have so sucked at draft order the last I've drafted the last 3 times. I think.
I think
right.
you have.
I think that's
and
right.
this
Let's
all
go
started
for the hat trick.
Our first ever draft a few months ago was cereal. And I remember you won the first pick and you gave it to me. And then you said, no, he's going to pick it. And I got Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I've never lived that down.
On my deathbed.
Exactly.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Be like my rosebud. Why did he say cinnamon? Why did he do that? No, I don't know why he said Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Mac Morey's in the corner.
I walk into the room, eating Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Pouring it all over. All right, you ready? All right, so we get our draft order by doing odds or evens for the 3 of us, and we do it for the 2 of us. So it's
the least auditory.
Yeah, right. It's the least, right. I mean, but it's the only way I know to do it. I wish there was another way because I suck at this. Are you guys ready?
I'm bad at it too.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Wow. All had ones. Okay, we got to do that again.
We're gonna do it again. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. All right.
You got first.
Oh, there it is. Matt breaks the streak.
Sweet. All right, you guys figure
First
it out.
overall pick for Murphy.
You guys
Okay,
figure the rest
Bell,
out.
you guessing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 2. Damn.
Yes.
All right, so the draft order is officially Matt Murphy drafts first, Mac Morey drafts second, Bell K second on the, as they say, as my grandpa used to say, hind teat.
The hind teat.
That's a little puppy reference, which is an animal which parlays right into what the subject is. Tell everybody.
Yes, so this draft today is Murphy, Bell, and I are all at battle. And in this, hypothetical battle, we can bring 3 animals along with us to battle to the death to see who is the last man and animals standing.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about water, how that is incorporated in here. I'm thinking this battleground has all sorts of geographical terrain. So you've got your water, you've got your desert, you've got grass, you've got some mountains. This is fictitious, obviously.
If you want to pick a water creature, you can.
You can.
But then I'm going to just stay on the mountain, so you're screwed. So whatever.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
It ought to be like I told Matt earlier. It should be that scene from Star Trek where
I'm lost.
Kirk is fighting the Gorn, and they're surrounded by mountains. And that way, if you pick a dolphin, for instance, the dolphin has to stay off the coast and just hurl epithets at the other guy or something.
You suck.
Nobody likes you.
Go get him, Murph.
It's my dolphin.
That was
Pretty
good.
Thank you. So I pick first. What are the rules? The animal has to have existed? What about
Yes.
have existed?
No,
exist.
Has
What do you
to
mean?
Exists.
What do you mean?
No, it has to exist
Well,
now.
Like T-Rex?
No, that doesn't
Because,
count.
yeah, there are people who would say that never happened, Yeah, did that exist?
What
Why
morons
did
would
you-
say that never happened?
Why did you just
Stop
go there?
this. No, who knows? We don't know.
So no T-Rex.
No T-Rex.
So it has
No
to be
dragons.
Well, dragons didn't exist. T-Rex existed. I mean, well, some would say it didn't, I guess. I mean,
Dragons
you know what?
did too
You know what?
exist.
That does avoid
There's
a lot.
fossils of them.
That does avoid a lot of criticism on the super text line. T-Rex never existed. The world's 6,000 years old. Whatever. I didn't expect to be number 1. I don't know what to do with it. So I'm battling you two, and I need. Okay. I think. African bees.
No, this
African bees.
I'm with it.
Swarm of African bees. They're on you.
It's
They're
really
all
good.
over you. They're popping
It's really
you.
good.
Genius pick.
African
Amazing
bees.
pick. Amazing pick. Really actually ruins my draft. I've got to rethink what I'm doing now. Because my first pick, his weakness is bees. I cannot pick him anymore. No. Okay.
I've got the African bees sewn up. Oh, my gosh.
My draft room's freaking out. We've scouted this guy for months. We've got to redo all of what we've talked about. All right, so I'm already on the heel here. I'm going to go safe. This is a good pick. Silverback gorilla. Strong.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Strong, smart.
Yeah, fast.
Probably can withstand a lot of swarming bees. Probably take some pressure off of your other guys. Silverback gorilla, that's a good pick. Bell?
I was actually thinking along the lines that Matt was thinking, but this was my first pick from when we first started discussing this. Fire ants.
I was thinking fire ants, too.
Dang, you guys are on the same. Okay, I'm on a very different wavelength, and you guys are going to destroy me, I fear. Okay.
So, no. Fire ants is good.
Fire ants is good.
I think I'll let my bees handle your fire ants.
Just a swarm of each.
Oh, you know what I'll do? I can see what I should do is anteater, and then boom! Take care of them ants. No, I'm gonna go big for pick number 2. And I'll tell you, this is an underrated aggressor, but I love him in my corner. I like the idea of having him there to take on whatever gorillas you're throwing at me. I'm going with the hippopotamus.
It's a great pick.
Hippopotamus, the water horse, incredibly aggressive, incredible jaw strength, faster than you would think they are, can do water, can do land.
Water. That's huge.
So they go both ways. I'm going hippo along with my swarming African bees.
It's a great pick. I'm going a similar route here. In my draft study, on my Google searches, you'll see my most recent is animals I want to bring into battle. And Google provides. Never lets me down.
I typed in earlier today, my Google was the most badass animals on the planet. And I got one that might be my third pick. But anyway, what's your...
Well, second on that list is hippopotamus.
Well, there you go.
First on that list will be my pick here. His one weakness being bees, but we can get past that. We will figure out the weakness of bees, and that is an African elephant. These things are huge. These things are smart. Water or land, very strong, very precise as well, though. So I like that pick.
Elephants kill over 100 human beings every year, by the way. I just
add 2 more onto the list.
Yeah, throw
Hippos kill more than anything else on the kill more people than anything else on the African continent.
Oh, wow. We do, and I have read, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've read that is in part because of a belief that they're docile animals.
Right.
And so people, if you see a lion over there, you're not going over, right? Because you're worried about that. But people go, oh, look, a hippo, let's go take a picture. Chomp.
Yeah, they're very territorial.
You're toast. Pick number 2 there, Bill, okay?
Okay, I was giving this a little bit of thought, and I'm going to go with...
That's good. So now you've got fire ants and murder hornets.
Yes.
Wow, and you've got bees. Man, I got to get in the air, don't I? Wow.
Oh, I didn't realize that we were going to go audio driven, but if we want to do that, I'm working on it.
He's looking for his audio.
Yeah, he's getting his audio for his third
I think I got my audio coming. I think I got some audio coming here. Hold on, I got to pause the YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because you can't have that. Then I got to skip that, and then...
The honey badger. Watch it run in slow motion.
Oh, don't look. Careful.
It's pretty badass.
Careful.
Pick number 3 for Matt Murphy is the honey badger.
Oh.
Mainly because of the YouTube video. If you've never seen, it's called The Crazy Badass Honey Badger on YouTube, narrated by a guy by the name of Randall, who has a very effeminate sound to his voice, which makes it even funnier. Honey badger don't care. Honey badger is fearless. Honey badger will go after you. Honey badger will attack you. Honey badger don't give no rip about no gorilla. Doesn't care about, oh, by the way, your murder hornets, whatever. Honey badger will eat them. Third pick, honey badger.
One of my favorite football players, nicknamed the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu. It's
LSU.
Yep. Kansas City, Super Bowl.
Was he with Kansas City?
Yeah, he came over to us for a couple years. We traded for him.
I'm sorry, I'm watching the honey badger eat a snake. Oh, man, I got to get rid of this video. This is scaring me.
Well, okay, I think I got to get in the air here because I got the elephant that can go in the water. My silverback gorilla is going to be, that's my number one pick. He's strong. He's fast. But if I do go down with murder hornets and bees eating me alive, I want to go down at least representing the red, white, and blue. Give me a bald eagle.
A bald eagle?
What the?
Bald eagle?
Scavenger.
Why?
Oh, that's a trash bag.
Why?
Yeah,
Those
that's-
talons are huge. It'll come like, guy.
Wait a minute. What was that sound?
It'll come on you, guy. It'll be done.
And
Yeah.
I swat it away.
Get out of here.
Because it weighs 12 pounds.
Wait, what?
Oh, whatever. Bald eagle. Well, let's see. How much does a bald eagle weigh? Bell, what do you got? Third pick while we're looking up how much does a bald.
Colossal squid.
Oh, dang. These aren't what I wanted.
What a colossal squid.
Yeah.
Just
Colossal squid?
It's not as long as a giant squid, but it's bigger. It has more size to it.
okay. What
So I'll
happened?
just stay away from the water?
It's
It's the one thing chilling by itself.
If you're
Like
but if
Aquaman
you're on
as
the
a
beach,
superhero.
if you're on the beach, he can reach out and grab you and pull you in, drown you.
Bald eagles weigh up to 14 pounds. That's just
I'm surprised you were
what?
that close.
Your love of your country got the
I guess I
better of
was
you.
just thinking about the wingspan.
You know what has bald eagles in it? Captain America: The First Avenger.
We trapped it as a war movie.
No, it's a patriotic movie.
Oh, patriotic movie. Excuse me. It is a war movie.
Chris says nobody's picking crocodiles or alligators. I mean, come on. I mean, that's true. We should have, I mean, whatever. I mean, no, look, I thought about mosquitoes,
Yeah,
but that's
'cause
more
that-
the long game.
we-
Mosquitoes more
Yeah,
long game.
long game. That's
the
like
long
Hunger
game.
Games. We're there for a
that's
couple
right.
weeks.
Oh, yeah. If we're going to battle for a couple of weeks, get my mosquitoes on you. and
Yeah,
then
we
die of malaria.
didn't pick crocodiles or alligators, and that obviously totally throws this out out of probability or plausibility at all. So that's just ruined the entire game.
I feel good. You went. Bell went a few more smalls than me, but I have great respect for your selections. Bell K.
Thank you.
And that is the end of that story.
Yep. Not mine. It's all good.
Shut up.
No,
Just
I
go,
had
go have yourself a nice bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
no strategy. I went brute strength, and yeah, I thought bald eagles weighed more than 12 pounds, so this doesn't work out for me.
No. 3348, just to put a cap on this radio segment right now, 3348 says, this is the dumbest segment I've ever heard.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
On Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Have a great weekend. We'll be back.
The longtime leader of the National Rifle Association stepping down, and some other news in the nation's capital we'll tell you about. 2:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Morey. 226 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I promised myself that I would not do this, but now I'm going to do this. Because during that brief commercial advertisement timeout, and I hope you were carefully paying attention to those commercials, I joined in progress some of this speech that Joe Biden's giving. It's his first speech on the campaign trail, and it's already begun as bad as you can imagine. Joe Biden has a difficulty forming words, and I just want you to hear. I do know. I just want you to hear just a little bit of it, just as much as we can stomach. Here's Joe Biden speaking in Bluebell, Pennsylvania about the future of democracy. Well, I'm not. Just go ahead.
Later, just one day before January 6th. A date forever seared in our memory because it was on that day that we nearly lost America.
Oh, Jesus.
Lost it all.
We
Today,
nearly
we're
lost
here to answer the
America
most
on January
important
6th, honestly?
Is democracy still America's sacred cause?
I'm sorry. I did not mean to take the Lord's name in vain. I apologize. That just came out of my mouth. I have a potty mouth, and I'm sorry. How absurd. We almost lost America on January 6th, 2021. That's what they're going with?
Is the most urgent question of our time. And it's what the 2024 election is all about.
No, it's about your performance.
Clear. Donald Trump's campaign is about him, not America, not you. Donald Trump's campaign is obsessed with the past, not the future.
The past?
He's willing to sacrifice.
What an idiot.
Put himself in power. Our campaign is different. For me and Kamala, our campaign is
He's
about America.
obsessed with the past, and you're talking about 3 years ago. Oh, it just made my head hurt. Oh, Joe Biden makes my butt hurt.
It's about the future. We're going to continue to build together. And our campaign is about preserving and strengthening our American democracy. 3 years ago tomorrow, we saw with our own eyes the violent mob storm the United States Capitol.
Is anybody buying this garbage?
Yes, unfortunately.
For the first time in our history, insurrectionists had come to stop the peaceful transfer of power in America. First time. Smashing windows, shattering doors, attacking the police.
Going on tours.
Outside, gallows were erected as the MAGA crowd chanted, "Hang Mike Pence." Inside, they hunted for Speaker Pelosi. The House was chanting as they marched through and smashed windows, "Where's Nancy?" Over 140 police officers.
Is this the garbage we're going to get for the next 9 months, 10 months,
the funeral, police
11
officers who died as a result of the events of that day.
No police officers died.
No police officers died because of that day. There was one person that died that day, Ashley Babbitt.
Yeah, and she was shot by a cop.
She was shot by a police officer, and she was unarmed when it
He
happened.
told the crowd to fight like hell.
By the way, nobody was armed.
All hell was unleashed. He promised he would write them. Everything they did, he would be side by side with them. Then, as usual, he left the dirty work to others. He retreated to the White House. As America was attacked from within,
It's such trash.
Donald
All
Trump
right,
watched
get
on
rid of
TV
it for
in
a second.
small
We'll continue to monitor it. Joe Biden
is a clown.
And pretty much announces the manner in which he's going to try to obfuscate the last 3 years of his presidency. He's been a disastrous president. He's allowing hordes of individuals to flood into our country. A real invasion is happening on our southern border. He has decimated our energy policy and our energy independence in the United States of America. He's decimated our national economy to the extent that everything costs more than it did 4 years ago. Everything costs more than it did 3 years ago. He's hurt our reputation around the globe to the point that Hamas feels no compunction about attacking Israel and slaughtering innocents because they don't believe that America will have Israel's back. Secondarily, Russia decides to invade Ukraine because they don't believe that this president of the United States will do anything about it. Our foreign policy around the globe is one of weakness. It's one of subjugation, not one of leadership. Joe Biden created that. Joe Biden did all of those things. These are the matters before the American people in the 2024 election cycle. Was your life better? Was your individual economy, was your individual life better under Donald Trump or under Joe Biden? Ask yourself that question. I don't believe that you can honestly answer it in a way that makes sense. Now, if you no, it is. And if you I'll finish this on the other side. I just can't stomach it. And by the way, for those of you, and I know that some of you are out there thinking that I shouldn't interrupt this guy. This guy has no respect for you and has no respect for our country, and I don't have any respect for him. I'll show Joe Biden some respect when he shows you some respect and when he talks about matters that actually matter to you. And oh, by the way, those that committed wrongdoing, those that committed illegal acts, they have been punished. Actually, they have been over-punished. 850 of them have been punished and prosecuted and convicted already. Those that committed violations of various laws surrounding the events of January 6th. But to call it an insurrection, to suggest that our country almost died that day is garbage. Stinky, full, overflowing bags of nonsense. 232 on Supertalk.
.232, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories right now. 50 degrees in Nashville. Weather forecast on the way. Ahead of civil corruption trial, the longtime leader of the National Rifle Association is stepping down. Dave Packer reports.
As CEO, Wayne LaPierre has led the NRA for more than 3 decades, where he pushed back any attempts at gun control in the face of mass shootings. But now the 74-year-old is resigning ahead of a New York civil trial where he and other executives are accused of spending millions of dollars of donors' money on expensive perks, including in LaPierre's case, the use of a 107-foot yacht. LaPierre has said cruising the Bahamas on that yacht was necessary because he was facing security threats in the U.S. after mass shootings.
Meanwhile, House Democrats are on the attack. Jonathan Karl says they claim to have a new report showing while Donald Trump was president, his business raked in $7.8 million from 20 foreign governments, alleging he violated the Immigrants Clause in the Constitution. Eric Trump says all that money was donated. Southern California started shaking on this morning when an earthquake hit east of L.A. Here's Alex Stone.
All around Southern California, reports have been coming in of people feeling a few seconds of shaking or rolling. The quake has been downgraded to a 4.1 magnitude. It was centered in the San Gabriel Mountains east of L.A. KBC TV reporter Rob McMillan felt it in Riverside.
Not any jolts or anything like that. It was just a little bit of back and forth for maybe about 5 or 6 seconds.
The quake was relatively small. It's not expected it caused any major damage or injuries.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Friends, Efficient Heating and Cooling, there for you if you need them during the cold winter months, and we're in the midst of it now, right? I mean, January becomes February, and those are the coldest months of the season, and you never know when that heater is going to go kaplooey. If that happens, Jeff Eddy's there for you. If your heater's not ready, call Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. Allow them to come out and help. Now, they're going to diagnose the problem. They're going to be honest with you as the day is long, and you can trust Jeff Eddy in your home. His crews are as professional as they come, and they're going to tell you the truth. They don't work on commission. They don't try to upsell you on anything. They simply diagnose your issue. They tell you what they can do with your heater. If they can fix it, they fix it. If you've got another year out of it, they'll tell you that too. Or if it's time to replace, and there will come a time. They're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric and an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. Call Efficient Heating and Cooling today. For all of your heating and cooling needs, there's Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling, my good friend. Call him today at 615-784-4424, 784-4424, or efficienthvac.net. I'm listening to the President of the United States or the resident of the United States of America, so you don't have to. Joe Biden offering his first a glimpse into how he's going to run his political campaign in 2024. He's going to try to scare the hell out of people. He's going to suggest that Donald Trump wants to take us back to the past while he takes us back to the past. We got our first Joe Biden corner. You know, Joe Biden yips himself into the corner and then can't get himself out and forgets where he is because of his dementia, his obvious dementia. And so he has this habit of saying, you know, he talks himself into a corner and then goes, well, you know, anyway. And he just did that. Rambling on about Paul Pelosi being attacked by a lunatic in California, an attack that was obviously condemned by every human being on planet Earth, every reasonable human being on planet Earth. So many of you have begged of me not to jip any more of that, join it in progress, and I will honor those of you who do not wish for me to do so. Many of you responding to the portion of the speech that we played, 8212 says at least Trump has a legitimate business to profit if he hadn't stepped away from those businesses immediately after his election. There's been no actual business or service provided for all of the profit the Biden brand. Again, in 4 years, well, yeah, you're right. Joe Biden has sucked from the government teat since he's in his 20s, all of his life. He's never done anything. Joe Biden's never been in charge of anything. And 8212, I wouldn't put it that way, but yes, Joe Biden's anyway is kind of similar to Dan Mandis's moving on. I didn't say that, Dan. Dan, if you're listening, 8212 had the unmitigated gall, the audacity to say that. I would never have said that.
That was funny, though.
It was funny. Moving on. So 0245 writes this, and I take these seriously because, as I said at the beginning of the show, we have to convince people like 0245 that they are fundamentally wrong in their way of thinking about the future of this country. And 0245, I can tell based on past tweets or past texts, I should say, that you don't care for Donald Trump. And you didn't care for me laughing at Joe Biden. As a matter of fact, 0245 wrote in and said, the fact that Trump is a serious threat to our democracy is not a laughing matter. Okay. So I wrote back to 0245 on the text line. I'm prone to do so. And I said, how is Trump a threat? Please help me understand so I will take it more seriously. I am listening. So 0245 stated that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. And his response as to how he was a threat is as follows. Lifelong cheat, grifter, Jan 6, fake electors, calling senators for 3 hours, trying to remain in power. Simple. Okay. If Donald Trump was that intent on remaining in power, why did he not actually attempt to remain in power? In other words, you Trump derangement syndrome folk, seem to think that Donald Trump is going to do something differently as a president this next time around that he did not do previously. What is that? How does he usurp the basic construction of the Constitution of the United States, 0245? Let's take it seriously. Let's take your allegation seriously. If I'm to take this dunderhead on my television seriously, I want to take your allegation seriously. That Donald Trump is going to destroy democracy single-handedly. Donald Trump couldn't destroy our democracy if he wanted to. Because we've constructed a country of the people, for the people, as Abraham Lincoln said. How does he do that? Does Donald Trump usurp his authority by conscripting the military to back him in a coup of sorts? What military man or woman would go along with that? Pray tell, 0245. I believe you're projecting. When you talk about fake elections, when you talk about grifting, who's the bigger grifter off the public trough? Donald Trump? Oh, sure. You can argue that Donald Trump took advantage of tax breaks. He took advantage of the tax code. He had found tax loopholes that presented themselves to him that allowed him to engage in business without paying any taxes. Okay, who made those laws, buddy? Who voted on those laws? Joe Biden. Donald Trump did not create any of those laws that he took advantage of with regard to his taxes. Is that why you refer to him as a grifter? Who's the bigger grifter? A businessman that created things and employed individuals? Or a dude that's never made a payroll in his life and has lived at the public trough all of his adult life? All of his life, as a matter of fact. Who's the bigger grifter? Donald Trump had an opportunity to be what all of you liberal Democrats claim him to be. And he didn't take it. Why not? If Donald Trump has some sort of magical ability to destroy democracy and become a tyrannical tyrant, as you suggest, why did he not do so? And I've asked this question in the past, and my liberal friends, they always say, well, he tried. How did he try? By questioning the veracity of the 2020 election cycle? By questioning whether or not... Now, I by the way, I disagreed with Trump. And I get a lot of hell from Trump folk because of this. And I consider myself Trump folk. I don't believe that Donald Trump had the ability, or Mike Pence, in this case, had any ability to override the will of the electors that were planning on voting for Joe Biden. I do not believe that he had that constitutional authority. And I know that people that I respect, constitutional scholars, Mark Levin's one of them. He believes that there was an avenue for Pence to do something about it. I do not believe that that's the case. And constitutional scholars, I don't consider myself one, but I'm a good study. They disagree on this matter. I don't believe that Trump had this authority. But what people who have Trump derangement syndrome, and many in the mainstream media, want to suggest to you that merely by asking the question, he somehow becomes that dictator that you think he wants to be. My question is, then why did he not go the step further that you claim that he's willing to go and just stay in office? You see, I agree with 8164. This is why we're all screwed. Because there's about 40% of the population that cannot see past their anger and their hatred. Of Donald Trump. 5263 says, I've always believed that Donald Trump is a cosplay dictator, speaking to your point. Well, he didn't do a very good job of that either, because he did not overstep his authority. He wanted to. I'll give you an example. When he was president of the United States, Donald Trump wanted to authorize expenditure of money to build the border wall. He couldn't do that on his own, and the Democrats in Congress refused to help him along. Sadly, we sat and we waited and we waited and we wasted a year of his presidency waiting on the Congress to do something with the money so that he could construct a border wall to prevent the flood of illegal immigration coming across the southern border. Eventually, Donald Trump figured out a legal way to maneuver money toward that effort. But he figured out a legal way to maneuver money toward that effort. Donald Trump did not interfere with the nonsense sham investigation going on against him. He allowed a special prosecutor to be appointed in Robert Mueller, taking authority away from Jeff Sessions. That doesn't seem to me to be the actor of a dictator or the actions of a dictator at all. 9844 says Matt Murphy, the VP, did not have the right to overturn the votes. He had the right to authority to send the votes back to the states to recount and recertify. I understand. I'm oversimplifying the argument. I understand the argument, and I don't have any intention of relitigating it. I do not believe that the vice president had the authority to usurp the will of the states that had certified their elections. Now, that doesn't mean that I believe that certification should have happened, but it did. But I'm not here to relitigate that. I am fascinated with the number of people that are buying into this premise. And I know it's a minority because, Joe Biden's at, 34% approval rating? The lowest of any incumbent president running for re-election in a re-election year? And his entire campaign is the idea that if Donald Trump gets reelected, if Donald Trump gets elected by him, think about this for a moment. This is how comical this is. The premise of the Biden administration and the premise of the Biden, or not his administration, the premise of the Biden campaign, all in an effort to avoid his failures as president, is to tell you that if a majority of the people go to the polls in November and vote to elect Donald Trump, that destroys democracy. If a majority of the states elect Donald Trump as our next president of the United States, that destroys democracy. 7078 writes in, and this is my favorite question to get on the super text line. Hello, I love your show, but please stop saying we live in a democracy. We live in a constitutional republic. If we all knew the difference, we might change some minds. 7078, I've had this discussion for many, many years with many, many people. There are two types of democracy, friend: direct democracy and indirect democracy. Under the heading of indirect democracy, you can look it up. There are plenty of essays and scholarly papers on it. Constitutional republic falls under the heading of indirect democracy, meaning that we do not directly vote on every matter in front of our people, that we elect representatives to go vote for us in an indirect form of democracy. I understand that Democrats and liberals have co-opted the word democracy, and you've allowed that to happen in your mind, and a lot of people have allowed that to happen in their minds. A constitutional republic, which we live under, is a form of democracy. Now, if you want to accuse me, and I'm very, very emphatic on this point, if you want to accuse me of being overly broad, if you want to accuse me of using the language of the left, that's fine. But it is not so that a constitutional republic is not a democracy. It is. There are direct democracies, which there are no direct democracies around the world anymore because they don't work. There have been, and they don't work for long. There are different types of indirect democracies like constitutional republics, as we live under. There are constitutional monarchies. That would be the United Kingdom, Great Britain. So don't get your panties in a wad when we use the words democracy and constitutional republic interchangeably. We are a democracy, a form of indirect democracy called a constitutional republic, and I will die on that hill. It's 50 after the hour on Super Talk. Oh, excuse me. I was listening to Joe Biden blather on about George Washington not serving 2, 3, 4, 5 terms as president of the United States. Joe Biden just said it's a comedy show if we allow it to be. Joe Biden just said, "Can you jip some of this before I go to Brian Wilson? I want to just listen to a moment or two more." He just said that he was misdirecting history with regard to Washington.
That's the America I see in our future.
Well, good for you, Mr. President.
We get up.
I try to be respectful.
We carry on. We never bow. We never bend. We speak of possibilities.
Unless you're in front of the
not
Saudis.
carnage. We're not weighed down by grievances.
I don't want to end my day on that note. I want to end my day on a brighter note. I know I should probably be a little more respectful of the office of the presidency of the United States of America, but it's a little difficult when I'm listening to that campaign speech. Well, I don't. I want to talk to Brian Wilson of The Drive. Brian is going to calm me down. I have every assurance in the world that he's going to make me feel better about my country. What's up, Brian Wilson?
Well, not much. I was listening to your this absolutely scintillating conversation about animals and which ones were more dangerous. And you completely forgot, the Texans' choice, which would be a rattlesnake.
Rattlesnakes were on my list, Brian Wilson.
Oh, I missed it. I'm sorry.
No, not on my. They were on my broader list. I eventually went honey badger for the joke of the thing rather than rattlesnakes. But yeah, rattlesnakes would be pretty.
I mean, they're small, but I mean, they can take out a much larger animal.
No question about that. What do you make? So, I mean, we saw this coming. They telegraphed it. Joe Biden, I guess, in an effort to erase the last 3 years of his presidency, is planning on running on January 6th, 2021, right?
Well, it's one of the things I think he's going to run on. I was struck by the interesting little stagecraft of having Jill Biden escort him to the stage.
Uh-huh.
You know, the one thing that this administration is terrified of is that Joe Biden is going to take another faceplant on television. And so, they have done everything they can possibly do to, reduce the chance that he's going to fall flat on his face. And so, I will guarantee you at the end of this speech, rather than have him look around like he always does, like a little lost puppy, not knowing where to go, I promise you, miraculously, Jill Biden will appear by his side and escort him from the stage. And it will all look like, one big happy family. But the bottom line is they're doing everything because they know the one thing that can happen here that would completely change the narrative in an instant is some kind of bad step like he had at the Air Force Academy where he took a big faceplant. If that were to happen, I think it would once again bring up all of these conversations about, is he really up to the task? But I mean, it's predictable. They're gonna try to get everybody revved up, and that's because they know they're in trouble. And so there's not going to be any kind of reasonable argument. It's going to be, we're angry, and I got to get all my Democrat friends angry because right now, they're thinking about this, that, and the other. We need to be unified, and the way we do that is make everybody angry. So,
all right, here your prediction is coming true as we speak. He's standing at the stage. Here she comes. She's coming fast. Oh, Brian Wilson, you nailed it. You nailed it. I'm watching on my monitor. He stood there, finished his speech, and turned and waited, and she ran on the stage to get to him.
Look, she's guiding him off like a little puppy dog.
Oh, my goodness, Chris. Well, I've long said one of the things that I say that the Democrats have a tendency of doing, when they think they have a winning hand, if you think about it as in poker terms, they always overplay it. They overbet it.
They do.
And look, January 6th was a bad look, and some people did some bad things. I don't believe in these political persecutions or prosecutions, but, there's some people that needed to be punished for what they did to the Capitol building, obviously. But they're overplaying it, right? And now they are pretending that we almost lost democracy on that day. And most reasonable people even Democrats have to shake their head at that nonsense.
Yeah, again, they're going to try to, vilify and try to dredge back up all this bad past history because they can't defend what they have done since they took office. They simply can't.
Well,
and so That's going to be the thing. I mean, you can't defend the record. So what do? You slash. You try to make people angry. You try to divide people. You try to, foster real anger in the world. And I think that's exactly what they're going to try to do.
Well, in addition to breaking down some of this campaign speech, the first of 2024, what else is on the drive this afternoon, my friend?
Well, we got all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of Tennessee news I want to hit. Border news. There is an interesting story that I found that is no doubt going to raise the hackles with some people, because it's a topic that always does. That says that there are now, more medical studies that say, everybody wants medical marijuana, but there are a lot of reports out there that that pot in its current form, which is much stronger than it was back in its early days, is really not very good for you and can cause a lot of not only physical problems, but also mental problems.
Wow. Well, we look forward to that breakdown. I know that you'll have Mac Maury's Wide World of Sports at 5:25, a favored segment, not my favorite segment by no means, but a favored segment of mine on The Drive with Brian Wilson. There's Brian Wilson. He's coming up in mere seconds after the aforementioned Mac Maury delivers the newscast, and that's coming up in moments from now as we continue getting you the news and information that you need on this Friday edition of Super Talk 99.7 WTN. That's it for me for the week. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, friends. Spend some time with family and friends. Hug your loved ones and enjoy The Drive with Brian Wilson coming up next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So long.